Good evening and welcome to the Southbridge Town Council meeting of Monday, June 7, 2021 at 7 p.m. here in the council chambers for the Town Council and remote participation by the public. Calling this meeting to order pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Town Council is being conducted via hybrid remote participation only. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted in the council chambers for this meeting, and every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so by watching Southbridge Cable Access Channel 192 or by the remote information noted below. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website at www.ci.southbridge.ma.us as soon as we're able to. A roll call vote will be required for all votes taken under this order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Councillor Adams.
Present.
Councillor Catrona.
Present.
Councillor Daniel.
Present.
Councillor Dow.
He'll be delayed.
Councillor Jovan.
Present.
Councillor Lazo.
Present.
Councillor Marchetti.
Present.
Councillor Ryan.
Present.
And Councillor Steves.
Present.
We have a quorum. Consider and accept the Town Council meeting minutes of Monday, May 24th, 2021.
So moved. Second.
Any errors, corrections, or omissions? Councilor Steves.
A couple of points. Item number 19 on page 10, it's the second full paragraph. It should say $140,000 was reduced to $100,000 with the $40,000 into free cash. Under item number 20, the vote at the top of page 11 should read 2-7. And under Councilors Forum, I just wanted to specify that the summer concert series was not the town concert series, it's the Grange concert series that I was talking about.
I didn't understand the last comment.
I said that in this Councilors Forum, when I was talking about a concert series, I wanted to clarify that it's the Grange concert series I was talking about, not the town concert series, because there is no town concert series, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. Any other further corrections, omissions? Seeing none, roll call as amended.
Councillor Adams.
Yes.
Councillor Catrona.
Yes.
Councillor Daniel.
Yes.
Councillor Jovan.
Yes.
Councillor Lazo.
Yes.
Councillor Marchetti.
Yes.
Councillor Ryan.
Yes.
And Councillor Steves.
Yes.
Motion carries. Subcommittee reports, General Government, Councilor Steves.
We have not met recently, and we don't have a meeting coming up.
Thank you. Department of
Although
Public
if
Works.
I can add to that, I was thinking that when we have the issue, when we get down to talking about coming back into full session, I was thinking of throwing that on an agenda, since we have in the past talked about whether or not we want to do remote meetings in general. So I was thinking about putting that on an agenda in the near future.
Okay, thank you. Department of Public Works, Councilor Marchetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. DPW had a subcommittee meeting June 1st, 2021 in the council chambers and remote. In attendance were Councilors Marchetti, Dow, Steves, remote. Citizen member Steve Lazo. Also in attendance was Councilor Daniel, Scott Lazo, Joe Catrona, Town Manager McCall, and DPW Director Blakely. The first thing we did was we amended the meeting to add an agenda removal of trees at Oak Ridge Cemetery, and that is agenda number 35 on tonight's meeting agenda. We discussed the request from Sans Souci Funeral Home to install a handicap parking space in front of their business at 40 Marcy Street. That's agenda 40 on tonight's meeting. We discussed the DPW transfer request within DPW department accounts to cover electricity costs in various accounts, town, traffic, and school lights in the res. That's agenda 30 on tonight's meeting agenda. We discussed the DPW transfer from capital reserve to cover cost of electricity to the end of the year. That's agenda item number 31 on tonight's meeting agenda. We discussed the DPW street lights transfer from free cash and council reserves for electricity street lights to the end of the year. That's agenda item number 32 on tonight's meeting agenda. We discussed the DPW water transfer request from capital reserve to electricity account to cover electricity costs to the end of the year. That's agenda number 33 on tonight's meeting agenda. We discussed the DPW water transfer from remote meters reading to South Street water main design. to cover cost of construction and administration and oversight to Ty and Bond. That's agenda number 34 in tonight's agenda. We discussed quotes for DPW uniform service award to UniFirst. That's agenda item number 36 tonight. We discussed construction bids for South Street water main replacement and road construction to Ludlow Construction Company. That's on agenda number 37 tonight. We discussed amendment number 1 from Ty and Bond for construction phase services, South Street water transmission main and road construction to add construction administration and construction observation services. That's agenda item number 38 tonight. We discussed the construction bid results for pavement preservation to Indus. That's agenda item number 39 tonight. We discussed the water contract operation request for proposal results, status, and the next steps. That was for discussion only. And we discussed the Main Street paving alternatives and associated estimates cost. There was no vote taken. It was for discussion only, but it is on tonight's agenda for the council to take a look at. Agenda item number 41. The meeting adjourned at approximately 9:14 p.m. The meeting is available on Southbridge Cable Access YouTube page. No meeting scheduled at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Education and Human Services, Council Catrona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No meeting held, no meeting scheduled.
Thank you. Plan and Development, Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, agenda items number 26 through 29 on tonight's meeting. We have one scheduled for a P&D scheduled for 22 April at 6:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman's announcements. Oh, I'm sorry. Protecting person and property, Councilor Lazo.
No report at this time and no meeting scheduled. We do have agenda items and recommendations on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman's announcements. Just a reminder that the Southbridge Town election is tomorrow, June 8th, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. The location changed due to the vaccination center being at the community center located on Armory Lane. The election will be held tomorrow, again, June 8th, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the middle school, high school located on Torrey Road. Again, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the middle school, high school on Torrey Road. Second, I had notified the town council previously that there was a vacancy on the school committee. We had posted an ad. This was a vacancy that became available due to a resignation. That resignation was done in a timeline that was not able to get onto the ballot for tomorrow's election. Therefore, it is an open seat that will be filled by joint town council and school committee. Term would be effective till June 14th, 2022, the next town election. We had posted this with a deadline to occur so that we could have a joint meeting earlier this evening between the school committee and the town council. However, nobody applied for that position and it remains vacant. If anybody's interested in serving on the school committee, please send your resume along with an interest form to the town manager's office at the Town Hall, 41 Elm Street, Southbridge, no later than Monday, June 28, 2021. If we have any applicants at that time, we will then bring it forward at a council meeting that will be set by the next sitting town council after July 1st. That's all the announcements I have this evening. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just echo your comments about the town election. And other than that, I'll defer to another meeting given the length of this evening's agenda.
Thank you. Presentations. Certificate presentation to the winner of the Design a Tote Bag Contest by Andy Pelletier, Director of Inspection Services. Mr. Pelletier.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Can you just move the mic up in? Because I know you're not used to being in council chambers. It's all new to everybody. So
I just never knew I was this tall. Thank you for having me. In front of you, you'll find, I believe we put in front of each councilor, except unfortunately,
there you go. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Councilor Adams, because he's sitting at the wrong end, and we'll get you one too, Mr. Daniels. This is a reusable bag. As the council may know, the board passed a law that we don't have plastic bags in town anymore. We're really encouraging the use of reusable bags, and I hope this is, if not the start of your collection, an addition to your collection. These bags were brought to you in a moment. I'm going to introduce Miss Anna Smith. These bags were purchased and the artwork on them, the artwork program developed by Miss Anna Smith using the RDP grant. This is a grant that we are going to have before you for approval soon after this. But Miss Anna started a program with the West Street School looking to get a good logo, a good solid logo that we can use for this year for our environmental programs that she launches through the RDP grant. We got 70 responses to that program. When I went to meet Miss Isabella, the winner of this program, I stood in the corridor outside the office in the West Street School, and they have a bunch of quotes on, inspirational quotes up on the wall on that, in that corridor. And one of them stood out. One of them said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." We got 70 responses to this contest. Very difficult choice to pick a winner out of this. But I can't imagine out of 70 people, 70 young adults, I'm going to call them young adults because it was a very mature project, that some of them are not the change that we are going to see in this world. All right, I'm very proud of what we got out of this project. I'm very proud of Miss Isabella for the winning vote. It was a hard vote that Anna and I couldn't make on our own. We opened it up to the whole town hall. So we're very proud. I'm going to introduce Miss Anna Smith right now, and she will talk further about the program and introduce Miss Isabella as our recipient of the award for the design. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Mr. Pelletier. As he mentioned, the bags were produced using funds through the Recycling Dividends Program grant to advocate for, reuse bags. They were given to each of the groups that came to the Southbridge Cleanup Day, so we were very happy to get them in just before that event so that we could hand them out as a thank you to the folks that came to do the cleanup event. I think other than that, I really would like to congratulate Isabella and ask her if she would come up and receive this certificate of award as the winner of the Design a Tote Bag contest.
Speech.
Isabella, make sure you get a picture with Council Adams, as our social media guru here.
No comment. Thank you.
Isabella, do you want to say a few words? No?
We told her we were going to embarrass her.
Yeah. So Isabel, congratulations. I just wanted to let you know that we're proud of you and the representation that you've done for the town. But I also want to let you know that you are the first person that has been able to be recognized by the town council in public like this for the last year and a half. So you are the first from a very long time, and I can't be more proud that you represent us moving into a direction. So congratulations, job well done, and keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, just for the public, just in case there's any questions out there, we made a decision that anybody that was on the agenda would be able to participate in this meeting. However, the general public will not be allowed, and we will be making a decision later in the meeting. Because it is important that we recognize appointments and move into this next phase of our of getting back to normal. So congratulations again. WRTA update, Council Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I'll keep my update brief. The first big thing, I guess the biggest thing I would like to announce to the public is that fare-free riding of the bus system will continue through January 1st of 2022.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you have to speak into the mic because you have a tendency to turn and it's hard to hear. So, and just so you know, the camera, I believe over there, will recognize you you're looking at it. So you don't have to turn to that camera. Okay? Just to let you know. Thanks.
So, if I may continue, the fare-free riding of the bus system will continue through January 1st of 2022. We had quite a bit of debate on this, but it ended up being a unanimous vote for a 6-month extension. Myself and Councilor Rosen of Worcester are working really hard to find a permanent revenue stream to help fund this initiative, to help keep it permanent going forward, because we recognize that both Worcester and Southbridge have a big need for public transit and an expansion of public transit. So this is at the top of our agenda, and we've been talking about some possible ideas to throw forward to the WRTA board. We also had some lengthy discussion about 2 different options to expand service. For a little bit of background, this is the first time an expansion of service has happened in over 20 years. So we have 4 routes we're looking at expanding service to add more nightly and weekend runs. 3 of them are the same in both proposals, which are, excuse me, I want to get the exact routes right. Routes 11, 19, and 26 are the same in both proposals. The only difference is in the first proposal, Route 30, which is a route to the Auburn Mall, would be expanded. And then in the second option, Route 27, which is a route to Quinsigamond Community College in Worcester, would be expanded. I'm interested if any members of the public have any thoughts about what routes they would like expanded, particularly around whether or not they want Quinsig or the Auburn Mall route expanded. I would be more than willing to hear that. And just for also a bit of information, the routes are being expanded using the American Recovery money. So that was the last fiscal stimulus passed by the Biden administration. And we are using leftover COVID-19 funds from the previous administration to fund the fare-free proposal because of just the different regulations about how the money can be spent. And that's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. Citizens Forum from remote. Is there any citizen from Southbridge that wishes to address the town council via remote participation?
I would.
Okay, could you state your name and your address, please?
Yep, my name is Jocelyn Tallis. The address is 11 Crescent Street, Southbridge.
Okay, go ahead.
One, I'd like to also congratulate Isabella. I work at West Street Schools, so I'm super proud of her as well. She did a wonderful job, as did all the other students who participated. But I am here just to talk to you all about, I'm here as the president of the Southbridge Education Association. We know you've seen our signs, you may have heard our rallies. If you do want to see more or get more information, please visit the Southbridge Education Association page on Facebook. There's a lot of great information and some speeches on there that are amazing. But we just kind of want the public to know tonight that there could possibly be another large turnover in staff this year for the Southbridge Public Schools. Our contract was redlined this year, which means instead of getting more things were actually taken from us, including sick time and bereavement time. The morale is really low right now. People are feeling underappreciated, and unfortunately, all the surrounding towns have contracts that offer more, while our contract in Southbridge is consistently lacking. I just wanted to share that information, and if anyone wants to know more, please reach out to me or email organizesouthbridge@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other residents wish to address the council on anything not on the agenda this evening? Any other residents? Any other residents? Seeing none, we'll move on. We have a lengthy agenda this evening, approximately 40 more items, so hopefully we can dispose of them. It's that time of year where we have a lot of transfers and everything, so wrap things up for the end of this fiscal year. Item 9, vote to approve the Board of Health pursue the Recycling Dividends Program, RDP, through the Sustainable Materials Recovery Program for 2021 to be used to support recycling programs for the town of Southbridge. Authorize the town manager to sign all related application documents. Is there a move?
Second.
Andy, you want to introduce it briefly and then we'll question?
Good morning. Yeah, my name is Andy Pelletier, Director of Public Health. Again, I have standing beside me Miss Anna Smith, who is the driving force behind this. Anna is my recycle coordinator, as well as the landfill monitor, as many of you well know. This grant rewards towns for what they're already doing and encourages them to do more in the recycling world. So the town of Southbridge has been involved in this grant for 2 years now. First year we got $7,000. Second year we got $11,000. This year we anticipate getting somewhere between $6,000 and $17,000. Obviously the application hasn't been put in and approved, so that's the range we're looking at. We expect closer to the $17,000. It's because we're using the grant monies to build on what we had before and get points for what we were doing. The bag program that we just showed you is part of that. We get some consideration for that. We've done the compost bin program, which has been very successful. We're actually ordering our third round of water rain barrels this year because we just can't keep them on the shelves. They're moving out as fast as we can get them. Our intention, if the council supports us going after this grant, and then once we get it, supports accepting this grant, is we're going to be looking for a collection program this year. I'm not sure about the cost of the program yet, but we want to make it available to the public that we will be taking electronics and tires, 2 items that usually cost around $20 to get rid of on a hazardous waste day. We think we can do it for about a third of that. So it's a service we want to bring to the town for the benefit of the citizens, but also because we have to look towards 3 years from now when we lose the contract, we're going to have to find alternative ways to start getting rid of some of these wastes, and some particularly hard waste to get rid of are our hazardous waste day, our electronics, and our tires. So these are programs that we're anticipating adopting. We're looking for the town or the council to support us applying for this grant, and again, to support accepting the grant with however many dollars that we do receive from it. If there's any questions, I'm here. Miss Anna has much more information on it.
Did you have anything to add, Mr. Thompson? You're good? Any questions for the council? Council Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. These grants funds have allowed our office to offer programs that directly benefit the residents of Southbridge. Could you elaborate on that, please?
As I said, our rain barrel program, we're buying them, I believe, for $62, $55, and we're selling them back to the town of Southbridge citizens for $25. That $25 goes back into the grant, and we buy another round of them. That benefits the town. As I just said, we're looking to do an electronics collection program. That is a program that is currently costing citizens, if you want to get rid of a good-sized TV, it's around $20 at the hazardous waste day. We're hoping to do it for about a third of that. So good money there. With this, I'm probably going to be approaching the board for a revolving fund. I've talked to Ms. Karen. She hates revolving funds, but so the monies we receive from this program, we're hoping to put aside for future hazardous waste days and future events to get rid of hard to get rid of items. That way, hopefully, we can sustain our hazardous waste days beyond the contract. What we're looking for is to take care of the town of Southbridge beyond the trash contract and immediately what's facing us today. Some other things that we've done is we bought items for the, they call it the Library of Things. Very few people know it, but the library lends out items other than books. We have a compost thermometer that we donated to them 2 years ago. What did we donate this year? 2 sets of walkie-talkies. Everybody calls them Disney walkie-talkies, but you walk around with them. You can get back-to-back communication with the kids when you go to events and things like that. That's up to being borrowed. I know the library has asked us to supply them with a couple of sets of snowshoes so that people who want to go out for winter enjoyment can don a set of snowshoes without paying the ridiculous price for a set of snowshoes. So all of our programs go back into programs that we think will benefit the citizens of the town directly.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
And Counselor Adams?
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
The next 3 items are appointments to the police department. 3 candidates, Aaron Berry, Brian Blomgren, and Eliab Maldonado. Chief Woodson cannot be here this evening due to an emergency that he cannot get away from. So therefore, the town manager will do a presentation. We'll then go to town council chairman. There you go, Scott. There you can have it. PPP subcommittee chairman, Scott Lazo. Mr. Town Manager.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Thank you very much for having me stand in. Please know that Chief Woodson is handling an emergency situation at the moment. He thought he would be able to get here. If he does come up, I will gladly yield the microphone to him. As you know, if you watched the subcommittee meeting last week, the chief and I had presented to you 3 candidates for the position of patrolman here in the town of Southbridge. Earlier in March, Chief Woodson presented me a memo indicating that we were going to have 2 vacancies. We had an individual looking to transfer to another department, and then we had someone within the Commonwealth in another community, and then we had someone looking to transition to state police. Subsequent to that memo, we had yet another person that was looking to go to another department elsewhere in the Commonwealth. Based on that, I had indicated to the chief, knowing how long it takes to get someone through the academy, that he should start the process looking for some candidates. I know he went through the recruitment process, and the candidates that he has here this evening have already gone through a lot of their basic testing and backgrounds, including the physical aptitude test, which was an issue during one of our recent recruitment cycles. But the individuals that I have here before you this evening come highly recommended from the chief. We have 2 Southbridge residents. That would be Aaron Berry, who's here behind me, as well as Ilya Maldonado, who's also a Southbridge resident. And then we also have Brian Blomgren, who is from Oxford. 2 of the gentlemen behind me have already had some police training. Mr. Blomgren, as well as Mr. Maldonado, have gone through at least basic recruitment, Reserve Intermittent Academy. Mr. Blomgren already has practical experience in the town of Webster, I believe. Mr. Maldonado had to forego going through some of his field training, but all 3 of them have background and an aptitude and a desire to work in law enforcement, and I commend all 3 of them. Given the challenges in law enforcement in this day and age, it's knowing what just happened, what the chief has relayed to me, it's a very difficult job every day, and these people put their lives on the line. And these fine young men behind me are looking to put their lives on the line to work for the town of Southbridge and protect the residents. And based on the applications and what the chief presented to me and what you heard the chief say last week, I would recommend the 3 individuals behind me for the position of patrolman for the town of Southbridge. To the best of my ability, I'm happy to answer any of the questions that would have otherwise been directed to the chief.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilor Lazo, the recommendation of the protection of persons property.
The recommendation on all 3 candidates are favorable, unanimous.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll take the first one. Vote to confirm the appointment of Aaron Berry as a full-time police officer, effective immediately upon completion of the state ethics training, all medical and physical testing, and successful completion of the police academy.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Steves.
Actually, this kind of applies to all of them. When is the next police academy?
The chief relayed, I believe.
I believe it is in the fall, but
He said October.
Given the level of experience of some of the officers, he'll be able to use some of them, and he'll put them on the desk and learning other things within the police station itself, probably rotating through dispatch to get them acclimated with all the processes and procedures during that time.
Okay.
Yeah. But the next academy is October, and it'll be the Springfield Academy.
Right, yeah.
The Western Mass Academy.
You mentioned that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, if not, roll call.
Counselor Daniel.
Yes.
Counselor Dow.
Yes.
Counselor Jovan.
Yes.
Counselor Lazo.
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti.
Yes.
Counselor Ryan.
Yes.
Counselor Steves.
Yes.
Counselor Adams.
Yes.
And Counselor Catrona.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Next candidate. Vote to confirm the appointment of Brian Blomgren as a full-time police officer effective immediately upon completion of the state ethics training, all medical and physical testing, and successful completion of the police academy.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on this candidate. I know the chief stated, even though this candidate is from Oxford. It's the first time that, again, to echo the comments of the town manager, and in my experience, this is the first time in a long time that they've had to go on a list for civil service and take a candidate from out of town. However, I know Mr. Blomgren. I've known him since his days at Anna Maria College. I know his uncle in law enforcement, and I believe that he will be a great candidate for the town of Southbridge, and I hope he stays as long as he possibly can. So, any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
And Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Unanimous of all present. Item 12, vote to confirm the appointment of Iliab Maldonado as a full-time police officer effective immediately upon completion of the state ethics training, all medical and physical testing, and successful completion of the police academy.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? One thing I just want to say, and I said this to Iliab Saturday when I met him in public at an event. My son knew him from younger, and I didn't recognize him because of these Zoom meetings that we can barely see who's on the screen. And he said, "Hello, Iliab," and I said there can't be that many of them, so congratulations on that. So I'm glad that we have these candidates here in front of us. And the only last thing I want to say, having been a retired police chief, given this climate that we're currently in law enforcement, I commend you for continuing your pursuit as a police officer in the town. We have a great town that has issues just like any other community in the country. I just want to wish you the best of luck and stay safe and enjoy long careers. And thank you for the service to our community. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
And Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Okay. Congratulations. So if you want, just real quick, if you want to introduce yourself and if you have anything you want to say, Aaron, I'll give you the first. So you can the town can put a face to the name.
Hi, my name is Aaron Berry. Been a resident of Southbridge my whole life. Really excited to be in this position. I've been looking forward to it for a while, and I just can't wait to get started.
Thank you.
My name's Iliab Maldonado. As you guys know, lived here my whole life, born and raised, and I'm honored to get back to my community. And I've always wanted to give back, and I feel honored to be in this position. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Brian Blomgren. I'm from Oxford. As you heard, I work in Webster right now, and I am honored to have the opportunity to work here in Southbridge and start a career here.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good luck. Item 13, vote to approve a police department request for a transfer from account number 001210.511000 salary to account number 0112110.52100 electricity in the amount of $5,000 to cover electricity costs for the remainder of the fiscal year.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Council Lazo, your recommendation?
The recommendation is unanimous at subcommittee level.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
And Counselor Jovan?
Yes. Unanimous, all present. Item 14, vote to approve a police department request for a transfer from account number 001210.511000 salary to account number 001210.515000 holiday in the amount of $10,000 to cover the cost of holiday pay for Memorial Day for police officers and dispatchers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Councilor Lazo,
It
recommendation?
was unanimously favorable to pass.
Thank you. Council Marquetti?
Just a quick question. This is for the Memorial Day activities that we had at Dresser Park there? Is that
No.
what this is for?
I believe the transfer from subcommittee was that it was the cost of salaries for the staff, not for the police officers, for the staff that are working because of the holiday account.
Oh, okay.
Right? That was correct. So it's for staff, dispatchers and police officers' salary to cover that holiday.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Do you have anything else, Mr. Town Manager, or was that correct? Yeah?
That was my understanding.
Yep. Roll call?
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
And Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Unanimous, all present. Item 15, vote to accept a total donation of $100,000 from the President and CEO of United Lens, Bill Lannon, for the construction of the new animal kennel project. The donation will be paid yearly at $25,000 interviews, beginning with this payment of May 1st, 2021, and for the next 3 years.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. If it was a friendly amendment on this, instead of for the construction, because it's not, the 100,000 is not just the total cost, I would just like to add towards the construction.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's clear, so that people don't think that that 100,000 is for that, because there's other money allocated to it. For the record, I just think that would be good. Is everybody in favor of that?
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion on this? Council Lazo, your subcommittee?
Recommendation favorable?
Favorable, thank you. Just so you know, for the public, Mr. Town Manager, do you have anything else to add on this? Kennel, I'm familiar with the project because I've been working with the chief, but if you have something else you'd like to add.
I would just say on the behalf of the town of Southbridge, we're very appreciative of the donation that's being made. I know the chief told me that United Lens had wanted to remain anonymous. As I've come to understand, we've been trying to build this kennel for some time, and I know this donation will go a long way to helping us complete that goal. So it is very much appreciated, and I know if the chief was here, he would echo those comments.
Yes, thank you. And the project has been delayed due to the COVID-19.
Yes.
And we have Bay Path on board, so hopefully in the fall we will be able to start beginning in earnest, getting those plans underway.
I spoke earlier in the spring to Bay Path, and they were not going to be able to do any work during the end of this school year, so it was going to have to be picked up in the fall.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this? Seeing none, roll call?
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
And Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Unanimous, all present. Item 16, vote to approve the police chief's recommendation to adjust the salary schedule for the animal control officer from an S5 to an S7 with maximum hourly rate of $25.11 as of 7/1/2021, an increase of $2.74 per hour or $5,343 per year.
So moved.
Second.
Council Lazo, the subcommittee's recommendation.
Recommendation was favorable.
Thank you. Mr. Town Manager?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As many of the councilors are aware from the subcommittee and the memo that was included in your materials for this evening, the chief, again, who cannot be here, contacted me in mid-May to inform me that ACO Spencer, who we had previously given an award for her outstanding duties in recognition as top ACO, had been approached by another community for potential employment, and the chief had outlined to me that he felt that the cost of losing her was something that he did not wish to endure, that she was an excellent employee, and that he felt he could find the funds within his budget to retain her, and that the cost of going out and bringing on somebody new would be significantly higher than what he has proposed for you folks this evening. He brought this forward. I told him I had no problem with him pursuing this. This position is not within the union. It's unique, and the amount of training that one goes through and the rapport that he has indicated that ACO Spencer has made with the community. She already has institutional knowledge. He said that this would be the best route, in his opinion, to ensure that we have continuity of operations with a qualified person who has been doing an outstanding job, and to retain people, quality people in the community.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Any question? Council Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. The only questioning I have on this is that typically, employers don't cater to employees that are seeking or approached to take outside jobs that pay more. I mean, we have a couple of counselors here tonight who are employers, and if an employee came to you and said, I've been offered a job that pays more, I'm wondering if you would say, well, I'll offer you more to keep you on. It's typically not done. I've worked for a lot of employers in my life, and when somebody would come forward and say, I've been offered a better job, they would say, well, we hate to see you go, but you've got to do what's best for you. So there are a lot of people in Southbridge who are unemployed, and I'm sure someone would come forward and take the job to be trained. And usually, wouldn't it work out? It's just my question. Wouldn't it work out if someone, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the town manager, if somebody was hired and you had to make up for the training, couldn't you offer them less money while the training period was going on to make up for that cost? And then with the promise that you will get the raise when your training is complete. That's the way I would go with it, but that's all I have. Thank you.
The only other piece of information I could offer is the chief had told me that he did do a comparison of some of the communities around us, and the full-time ACOs in a couple of the other communities did make more than our current ACO. So he felt to stay competitive, he wanted to advance this agenda item. I can't speak to the ACO's position specifically, but I know we do have the agreement so that if somebody leaves, we get some of the training money back. I don't know how it's structured with the ACO.
Thank you. Council Dow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you. I understand, Councilor Marquetti, when you hire somebody, but if that person...
Can you move the mic in from
If that person trained and move forward and he become better employee, I think he deserves a raise. And the way I think it's not easy to find somebody trained and know how to handle animal and work with the residents quick. And by the time you bring him in, you train him, they're going to ask the same thing. They're going to go to different towns. So you're going to spend the money on him to train him. You're going to spend your time teaching him and educating him, and they're going to leave. So as an owner of businesses, I prefer to keep the same employee, give him a little rate, and he already have the job done correct. There's no issue. So thank you.
And Council Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you. I guess I can speak from the employee end. Recently and in the past, I have been approached and I have been offered more money and better benefits to stay at a company. So maybe it wasn't common practice back, but in my time working, it's been a pretty common practice that if you are a good employee and they're going to lose you and you're integral to the organization, they will offer you more sometimes to keep you to help you stay. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's not enough, but it is a pretty standard practice, at least from my experience, both in healthcare and in other industries.
Council Evans.
Both previous speakers make sense. I was a little upset when this came in front of PPP, the way it came. In other words, can I have a raise or I'm leaving? And it left a sour taste in my mouth. I'm voting for it tonight, not because of that. I kind of bit my tongue and thought about the long haul. I think this dog officer deserves the money and the pay hike, not because she's holding us hostage, which it sounded that way. Well, I can agree with Council Marquetti, but I personally think that the job that she does, and I see her on a daily basis, I think that pay scale was low, and I'm not a guy that likes to spend money at the council level, but this is one of the ones. I remember the days when we did not have good dog officers or people that were on their A game, so to speak, right. And this one here has been one of the best in quite a while. So I'm going to be voting in favor of this, but I do understand what Councilor Marquetti is saying. Thank you.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll caveat what Councilor Ryan said. That's how I get my pay raise. So I think it's more of a trend these days when they go out there. I don't recall the animal control officer coming to the chief, and I don't want to speak on the chief's behalf, but I don't remember her from what he was saying, she walking up to him where she's gone. I think it was him realizing that she's underpaid. You have other towns poaching for good employees within our town. I don't think we're catering to the individual because if they're not worth the money, then they got to go anytime. But I don't feel like we're catering to this. I think it was artificially low for her. And she was the Animal Control Officer of the Year, which is kudos for her and shows what she's done for this town. I wrote a letter of recommendation for the awarding, and I think she deserves it. And based off what Chief had talked about during the PPP, the amount of time and the funds just to get somebody up to speed is going to cost us quite a bit as well. And you never know what you're going to get at this point in time. Chief is asking for what, $5,000 extra a year for. I think it's a no-brainer. Thank you.
I just want to echo what Councilor Adams said because I didn't hear that, and perhaps you heard something else. My colleague to the left, it's a fan over there. And because the chief isn't here, I'm sure I don't want to speak out of turn, but we have an issue with this community that came to this animal control officer. This community continues to come to the town of Southbridge and take our police officers and employees because of wages and that. To the employee that we're talking about today on the position, she went to the chief and just said, I just want to let you know this is what happened. I love my job here in Southbridge. And this is what they're trying to do. And the chief, I think, tried to look and say, hey, these are what the other towns look. And we've been on committees for a long time, Council Lazo. We do salary studies all the time. And if the chief couldn't back it up with the salary, then you sit there and go, hey, chief, we can't do it. But if we look at those area communities and the amount of work that our animal control does and the recognition that she's gotten, and speaking as an law enforcement end, I know what it's like when you don't have an animal control officer. You put all that burden on the police officer. And we ask a lot from our police officers now. So I have no problem supporting this. I do have a problem with that neighbor in town that continues to try to poach our officers. I do have a problem with that because we're paying to train officers, and that's something I think the next council has to take a look at to say what is making that happen. Either salary, and we've talked about other issues such as benefits, so that would be on the next council. Council Lazo, I'm sorry.
I just want to follow up, and I think I was more upset with Oxford.
No, not Oxford.
I'm sorry.
That's the other neighbor.
Yeah, but the town that was trying to offer up and I'm not naive that we are in competition for your teachers, for your police, fire, town hall employees. When you have somebody good and they're planted here, you got to pay attention to the salary lines, where they are. And I was a little more upset with the community that tried to recruit her. And then when it came to the subcommittee and said, the chief didn't want to lose her. I get it. But again, I thought that our dog officer wasn't getting paid enough before he came to us. But because nobody ever asked, I'm not volunteering. So I think, again, we're in competition with the other towns. Let's not be naive. Do you want to do it? Fine. If you don't want to do it, there's an expense not to do it. So, you put on the scale of justice and make your call tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
No.
And Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1 with Council Marquetti in opposition.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you. Yeah, Caitlin. Continue the good work. Item 17, vote to amend Schedule 1 to reflect the adjusted salary schedule for the Animal Control Officer from S5 to S7.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
No.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
And Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Did you have one other counselor, or did I not hear it?
Maybe. Did I
Okay.
forget someone?
I think it's 8-1. Okay, we'll go. I didn't know if I missed something. 8-1, Counsel Marquetti opposed. Item 18, vote to approve the fire department transfer request from account number 001220-585600, safety equipment, to account number 001220-524200, data processing in the amount of $7,801.20 to cover the cost of new software.
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
The recommendation was favorable, unanimous at subcommittee.
Okay. Any questions of the chief on this? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
And Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 19, vote to approve a fire department transfer request from account number 001220-569300, tuition, to account number 001220-569000, licensing, permits, and taxes in the amount of $1,300 to cover costs for CMed dues assessment for fiscal
So
year
moved.
2020.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Council Lazo?
The vote at subcommittee was unanimous in favor.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Council Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Could you explain what CMed means, please?
Through the chair, what was the question again?
CMed?
What is it?
Yeah.
Central Mass Emergency Dispatching Agency. This is it's a facility that's run out of Poland. It's interconnected by multiple radio systems, and those radio systems are to communicate from the ambulances, the back of the ambulances, or scenes on calls to the hospital directly. So we're paying for an operator to work there. This has been a tradition for 40 years.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
And Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Unanimous, all present. Item 20, vote to approve a fire department transfer request from account number 001220-519300, tuition, to account number 001220-558700, parts and accessories, non-vehicle, in the amount of $1,700 to cover the cost of SCBA, otherwise known as self-contained breathing apparatus, yearly testing and certification of air packs and bottles.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Council Lazo?
The vote at subcommittee was unanimously in favor.
Any questions, comments? Council Marquetti?
Thank you for letting me know what that means. I know the town manager sent out a memo, no more acronyms, so I just wanted to keep us honest here. Thank you.
No, thank you, Council Marquetti. I have brought that up at numerous
Right?
council meetings. I just missed it when it came of the agenda. But as you can see, some of these, the SAFE was spelled out and all that, DHCD and all that. I'm working very hard, and future councils need to work very hard because that is a problem. Just not so much for people that, like, we could do this all the time and know what those acronyms mean, but the public doesn't know. So
Right. Thank you.
we will work even more diligently on trying to make sure that happens. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
And Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Unanimous, all present. Item 21, vote to approve a fire department transfer request from account number 001220-586200, medical equipment, to account number 001220-550000, health supplies, in the amount of $2,142.97 to cover costs for health supplies.
So move.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Any questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
And Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Unanimous, all present. Item 22, vote to accept the fire department's award of the FY 2021 Student Awareness of Fire Education SAFE Grant Award in the amount of $5,281 to the SAFE Grant and $2,680 for the Senior SAFE Grant.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this? Council Marquetti.
Could the fire chief explain what exactly these are? Are these grants to students? Are they grants to the fire station? Through the chairman.
Thank you.
Chief. The chief, please.
So through the chairman to Council Marquetti, these are grants. There's two separate grants as you see here in the documentation that I provided. It is through the SAFE program. Basically, there is one grant, which is the $5,000 one, that goes to the schools for education, for fire safety, fire prevention, fire escape plans, and things like that. We do that every year in October. And then the second grant is for fire education for the seniors in town. We go to 60 Charlton Street and 150 Main Street and TAG to deal with those educational programs.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Council Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Chief, how many years have you applied for these grants?
Okay.
I do believe, I'm just going to go off the top of my head, I would probably say this town has received those for about 15 or 16 years now. They've been in place that long, and we've received them each year.
Great. I'd just like to point out to the citizens in town that some people have been concerned about whether or not we are applying for grants, and if we're looking for every grant opportunity that we have. And this is a perfect example that we don't leave any stone unturned, that we are looking for grants at every opportunity in all the departments, not just public safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Any other discussion? Council Lazo, did I ask for your recommendation?
Recommendation was favorable.
Thank you.
Unanimous.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
And Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Unanimous, all present. 23, review and discuss the fire department's request to declare as surplus the following items: several sets of structural firefighting gear to include helmets, coats, pants, and boots, computers and monitors, and several Scott air packs. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Chief, could you just elaborate? I know there was a little bit of discussion at council at the subcommittee meeting, the reason for the structural firefighting gear, why we would dispose of that in the Scott air packs. I know it's what you discussed to the council, but just for the public, that these are because of federal regulations and all that, if you could.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The structural firefighting gear is we purchase on a yearly basis 5 or 6 sets. The gear is about $4,000, almost $5,000 per set per firefighter, and each firefighter has 2 sets. That gear has a shelf life and a user life for about 10 years. The gear that we're having here on this list for surplus is just cresting 10 years old. It will not be able to be worn by a firefighter. We would be held accountable if something were to happen to a firefighter in a structure fire. The gear has to be taken out of service. A lot of this gear has been faded over the years due to the sunlight going through the station windows. We've put towel blankets up in those windows, and it still faded the gear. It degraded all of the material on some of them. So this has been a process that we had. The gear was there at the station, and we finally put it all together. And obviously the request is to dispose of it. We will be just throwing it in a dumpster because it is definitely not wearable at this point. The Scott Air Packs is in the same scenario. The Scott Air Packs can be upgraded over that 10-year period. The current Scott packs that we're throwing away are about a 20-year lifespan right now. So through our upgrade program for our Scott Air Packs, we've done fairly well. Because of those upgrades, allows us to keep them certified and in service for firefighters to use.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilor Steves.
Yeah, just a quick question to you, to the chief. Do you foresee, I can understand why the firefighting gear probably not, but do you foresee the computers and monitors and maybe air packs having any practical use for anybody in the public?
I would be highly unlikely would allow the air packs to go out because they're not certified. If somebody put it in their hands, you never know if another fire department would grab them and use them. They have Southbridge registrations to them. That would be just a fear of mine, and obviously there's no value to them as they sit right now because they are out of date. The computers and monitors, these are obviously, I think I explained it at the subcommittee. The computers and monitors were a batch of monitors and computers that were upstairs above my office prior to the flood. They did make it downstairs to the fire station floor. Some of these computers they've been stored by previous administrators. Some of them are 25 years old. So we have removed the hard drives out of all of them. We will be using the Board of Health's announced electronics data to dispose of them properly. Any questions?
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
And Counselor Jovan?
Yes. Unanimous, all present. 24, vote to approve a treasurer-collector transfer from account number 001145-571100, conference meetings for $210, from account number 001145-585500, office equipment for $250, from account number 001145-524000, R&M equipment for $287, to account number 001145-538100, surety bonds for a total transfer amount of $747 to allow for the payment of two bonds in fiscal year 2021, bond period of 5/28/2021 to 5/27/2022, and correcting the payments in the future.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion on this? Councilor Steves?
Yeah, just one quick question. Is Melissa even here?
Yeah,
Yes,
Ms.
I
Talmadge?
am.
Oh, you are?
Melissa?
Okay. I was just curious if you can...
Can you speak into the mic? 'Cause
I'm sorry.
can't
I was
really hear you.
curious if you could explain a little bit about what you mean in this agenda item regarding, where'd it go?
Sure.
Correcting the payments in the future. What is that supposed to mean?
So because of the time of the year that I was hired, my original surety bond, and this is the bond that is placed on me in case, I make a serious error or I lose money for the town, and you can, the town is insured against me personally for, should I make a mistake or God forbid, steal anything. So that it's a bond that is required for my employment that is paid for by the town to protect the town against my errors and omissions. So because of when I was hired in 2019, and by the time they issued the invoice for my bond, it was fiscal 20, and we paid it in fiscal 20. So my bond keeps getting canceled because I'm not paying it timely, because I need to make two payments in one fiscal year in order to get my bond payment on the right fiscal track. So I was just moving around a little bit of surplus we had in some of the small accounts. We didn't buy office equipment this year. We didn't go to as many conferences because of COVID, that kind of thing, so that we could make a payment in fiscal 2021 for my bond that started last week into fiscal 2022. And then when the fiscal 22 bond comes due in May of next year, we can just pay it timely instead of it having a lapse. It's
Okay,
a
thank you.
timing problem that has been kind of off cycle for a while for us.
How's that?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? None? Roll call.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
And Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0 unanimous. Item 25, vote to approve the memorandum of agreement between the Town of Southbridge and Tri-Valley Incorporated for the leasing of space for 2021 at the Southbridge Community Center in the amount of $100 per month, respective to the responsibilities surrounding the Tri-Valley nutrition site.
So move.
Second.
Council Steves?
Yes, I'm going to recuse myself. I work at Tri-Valley.
Thank you. Any other discussions, questions, comments? I know Pat's on the line if we need any questions about that. Pat Haddock from the senior center. Seeing none? Roll call.
Counselor Steves, did he recuse himself?
He recused himself, yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
And Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Councilor Marquetti, what was your vote? Was it yes?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Motion carries 8-0 with Councilor Steves being recused. Item 26, vote to apply for the Parkland Acquisitions and Renovations for Communities. See, it was spelled out, Councilor Marquetti. Park Grant Program to the design and build a skate park and handball court at Capillo Park, McMahon Fields, incorporating new playground features and design elements from the 2015 redesign of McMahon Fields and Park for the town to be eligible for up to 70% reimbursement equal to $400,000.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Counselor Adams, you want to go
Just
with
wanted,
recommendations?
Yeah, subcommittee, unanimous, all present in favor.
Thank you. Mr. Town Manager, do you have anything to add first? So you're going to go to Ms. Dean. Peg, good evening.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me okay?
Nope. Gonna have to speak up, I think. And I think cable's gonna make you larger so we can see you.
How is my volume now?
Okay. I think so, hopefully. Okay.
Okay. So the town was provided a memo outlining the motion. You were also provided what's required within the memo, what was required should the town approve pursuing the grant. You were also provided a sketch of the 2015 McCann Field design. With what's drawn in is the basketball courts, the arc of the adult softball fields drawn in at the 220-foot line of the left and right field, with the handball court where we see it best fitting, but we would confirm this with the engineer when designing if going forward. On the call with us tonight, we have our Recreation Director, Michael Brunel, the New England Handballers Association rep, Nancy and Will Ortiz, Pat Haddock. We also have all of whom we've met with to discuss and review the project. We also have on the call Melissa Zawodzki. She has experience with the park grants requirements should you have specific questions about the need to raise and appropriate the entire 100% in advance of executing the grant if awarded. The proposed project, I think everyone may have received the outline. The proposed project is to eliminate the parking to the right side of the basketball courts at McCann Fields, as was designed into the option 2 of the McCann Fields design. Put in new parking as seen in the image that was drawn in. Matt from the DPW town engineer drew in what he thought would be safer parking. We want to add a new playground feature and consider some new surface and paths with picnic areas for ADA accessibility from the parking lot. After speaking with the DPW, we've even discussed the idea of trying to make a connector trail between the softball fields and the skate park for ADA accessibility, all contingent on the cost estimates, with removing the existing skate features at Capillo Park and then designing in what's affordable within the grant to install concrete structures based on the cost estimates. That would be partially shaded with shaded seating as a viewing area for parents and addressing the fence issue.
Councilor Catrona, you had...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, as I spoke at length, I think it's subcommittee in reference to this. I have a difficult time this evening supporting this. I think there's other ways we could possibly spend the money. This brings no revenue into our community from an economic standpoint. I do appreciate the town manager and Peg sending the email, answering many questions that I had in reference to the rail trail, and I do appreciate that that is further down the line. I think should this pass this evening, it certainly needs some signage, something that advises that supervision is not provided by the town. The average cost of this between $45 and $60 a square foot, and that's off the Public Skate Park Development Guide site. An average skate park, 3,000 square feet. They also, as large as 8,800 square feet, could cost between 135 to over 300,000. There's advantages, there's disadvantages, increasing crime, decreasing crime. There could be injuries, crowds, vandalism. Skateboarding, it's not a team sport. So, and this is it's my opinion, we're going to possibly have a grant for over $571,000. It's still going to be a cost to the town at the end, roughly, possibly as much as $170,000 if my numbers are correct. So right now we have an economic development and planning department. We have Eric as our town planner, and we have Peg as our CDBG grant coordinator. I've said it before, and I'll say it, and I'll say it, and I'll say it repeatedly. In my opinion, the town does not have an economic development coordinator. I know this council said that they didn't want it. I voted against that when it came to fruition and it came to a vote. I think this town needs to future plan. We need some type of a 10-year plan in this town, and we need someone that is geared towards moving this town forward economically to generate revenue for this town. The town, should it be sued, and I'm sure the town manager is very well aware of some of the terminology, they're called municipal tort immunity. Even though it's considered recreational nature, it does protect the town from some claims, but not all. The other question that I would have possibly to Peg or to the town manager, have we looked at community partnerships or sponsors for the park in any way that can, I don't know, add signage or donate, I don't know, I don't know what skateboarders do, unfortunately. You know, add a post, a pole, something, and say this is donated by. I just don't see the value that this is bringing into the town. I think it's going to cost the town money, especially when it comes time for functional concerns, capacity, security, operations, maintenance. We hear from our DPW director now that the DPW department is burdened. Well, we're adding more burden to them. This is going to require maintenance. It's going to require more policing. I did share with some councilors a police report that the chief shared with me about 4 years, and there were multiple calls for police and policing also while they were there. They had some issues at the park. I just think it's a concern that we're not bringing any added revenue into this town and community. For that, I certainly yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I agree with Councilor Cotrona, some is not. I think we need to focus on our kids in town. The kids need something. Not everything generate money. You want a better town, better education, better future for these kids. You gotta give them something to meet each other at the park. They know each other, to play together, to keep them out of troubles. I understand there's a lot of risk regarding playing, get hurt, but they can get hurt walking on the street. They can get hurt sleeping home. But this town, I lived 22 years here. Nobody is focused on our kids. Everybody complain. We have education is not doing well. The kids, it's a behavior, this and that. So we have to focus on our kids. You want a better town, you got to start from the bottom. You got to look for those kids to know how to work together, play together, respect each other. And that's, I think, how you're going to start with the younger generation, and you go up. So I understand the money is good, but you have to give those kids something to when they grow, they can bring money, not costing money. Thank you.
Councilor Adams.
I just wanted to answer, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, Councilor Cotrona's question about parks adoption. Yes, they are actually, one is already applied. There is already a company that wants to do another park, and we possibly have another one to do the BMX and the skate park. And I'll save some facts here in a minute, but I just want to reiterate, this is not about just a skate park as well. This is about a handball court. This is about some of the other areas that are over in Henry Street. So, but that I'll hold until then.
Councilor Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I'd just like to make note that not everything in town has to deal with team sports. In my time as a vice principal and educator in a high school, it was very apparent that not every child played football or baseball or basketball, that a lot of the children were involved in different athletic activities and endeavors. And I think that it's well thought out if we try and get something for other kids in town, as well as the kids that play the team sports. Another concern that I have is that a lot of children are using their equipment on the roads, and for a matter of safety's sake, I'd rather keep the kids off the roads and in the park rather than on the roads dodging traffic. So I appreciate the councilor's sentiments. However, I respectfully disagree. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Dow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To you, I just want to say a few things. Thank you, Mr. Dean, Dave Adam, Town Manager, all those work on that project to become to this point so far for the kids. And I think we can speak in the future for community watch. I think volunteer to make the community or the kids safe for crime or anything. A lot of town residents, I think they like to volunteer for washing those parks and communicate with the chief and the police department. Thank you.
Councilor Marquetti?
I think Councilor Steves was before me.
No, I saw your hand first and then
Okay,
his.
thank you. Through you.
I'm directing.
Couldn't be.
Okay, Councilor Marquetti?
Mr. Chairman, through you. As I said at the Planning and Development, there are a lot of parks in this town that I think have been neglected over the years. You go down by Morris Street Park, they have a basketball court, they have playground equipment, hasn't been touched in years. So, and I have a lot of constituents who have asked me about a dog park. They want to know if there's a dog park in Southbridge. We don't have one, so I would like to see some effort made to help to fixing up some of the other parks. Charlton Street Recreation Area, they play Pop Warner over there. There's actually an ice skating rink over there, which I did not know. So some of these other parks need some attention. That's all I'm saying. I'm not opposed to going after these grants. I'm glad that we're getting these grants. I did reach out to former council chair Esteban Carrasco, and I asked him about this, how he felt about it. And he said a lot of the Hispanic constituents do support fixing up that park. They want it fixed up. He also said that he would like to see more police presence down there because he realizes that there are some problems down there with vandalism and destruction of the property. And he also acknowledges that the police can't be everywhere. And he suggested that we utilize the auxiliary police to patrol the area. They have direct communications. And he thinks that would cut down on a lot of the problems that are over there. But he fully supports fixing up this park and wants to see this happen. So I would like to also say that former Councilor Dave Smick actually contacted me. And he mentioned that for this to be an economic development, and he made a good point that the key to economic development in Southbridge is our schools. And if you want to spend money like that, spend it on the schools. But as I said, I don't have a problem with spending this money on this park. I just think that there are other parks that I would also like to see some attention as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead. I know we'll probably respond to the Charlton Street area, maybe. I'll defer to you. But Councilor Steves is first, and then I'll direct to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of points. First off, I just wanted to say that I think it's a pretty good idea. To counter what Councilor Coturna said a while back, I do think that not everything needs to be profitable. I mean, in this case...
It's very hard to hear you. I'm not trying to give you a hard time, but I know Councilor Adams is struggling.
You can probably see my face strain. I apologize, Councilor. It's not... I no just problem. Can't. I'm really trying to get that left ear out
I've always
there.
had that issue with mics. I was saying that I don't think everything needs to be profitable, even if it is under economic development rubric. Because, well, in this case, this is an example of putting in some recreational infrastructure, which might allow us to do other things in the future with it. You know, if it's done well, if it's promoted properly, if it's preserved properly and secured properly, and I think one of the things we might be able to do, I don't know if this would be allowed in the grant, but you know, I like Councilor Kennedy's ideas of having auxiliary cops going through there, but I think we can all. But cameras are cheap, and you can scatter them all over the place and make sure that vandalism isn't happening, or we can easily identify it. And if we do it right and we promote it properly, we can have the potential to bring things into town that might tie into other things in town, especially if we do work in the rail trail and those kinds of things. we can tie them all together in a way that helps promote Southbridge. It's a little bit of a more long-term thing without a specific dollar value attached to it in the sense of profit, direct profit motive, but it helps. I think that I know I've heard from several people that are very concerned about the security situation down there, about the vandalism and homeless people sleeping under things and things getting broken and those kinds of things. And obviously we need to be concerned about that. I think that's all I had to say.
Thank you. Councilor Lazo?
Economic development. I can only reflect to one of my oldest daughter when she was looking to which town do I want to live in, and she was in the Connecticut area. And she picked Tallinn, Connecticut, and she raises her family there with her 5 kids. So I go to Tallinn, Connecticut, and I look what's the magnet there that everybody wants to go there. It's family friendly. It's built for kids. It's recreation. It's football domes. It's skate parks. And I turned around and said, the people that, like a magnet, moved to this community, it was all about recreation, and it is important. The thing is, we've always, on town side, we're not good maintenance people on fields. We never have been, and we've been working harder at it. The school department is the one that's got it right. And the chairman and I have spent years building a maintenance department, equipment, including manpower, to take care of those fields the way they should be taken care of. Now, it's our obligation as a council to look at our fields and say, as Councilor Marchetti said, I'd like to look at some of the other fields for some improvements. I couldn't agree with him more. We go in and build a brand new field and then we don't maintain it. I'm talking about fencing, I'm talking about dugouts, I'm talking about things like that. And I think Councilor Daniels said, not everybody's going to be on a football field. I'm not a skateboard guy. I keep my feet on the ground when I was younger. So when you turn around and you don't see a skateboarder going down the railing at Savers Cooperative Bank, why? Because they're in the skate park. And I love the skate park. I don't skate. I don't have any kids that skated. But the thing is, the kids are going to do it. And if you don't want them on Main Street and on those railings and all over the streets, you create a skate park. And they're like a magnet, they go to their skate park. Now, somebody put a skate park in long before me, and now I'm sitting at the doorstep of, what do you want to do with it? You want to tear it down, get rid of it? What are we going to let crime dictate where we put recreation? Or do we put recreation where we think it's right and provide the prevention to make it a win-win situation? So myself, if somebody's going to tell me, I want $70,000 reimbursement, you're going to get $400,000. Come on, guys. It's a no-brainer tonight. It's a yes vote. Come on. And this is good for kids, good for families, it's good for Southbridge. So I just want to leave you with that thought that, when people move to a town, don't get me wrong, I fought that methadone clinic. Because what the methadone clinic brings to Southbridge is not what a skate park brings to Southbridge. That's what we have to look out for. What comes here and what stays here. We control it as a government. Thank you.
Councilor Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate all the comments tonight. I just want to start off, bear with me for a second here. I wrote some notes down on this skate park. The skate park, let's put it that way, the skate park itself came to me a couple years ago with the breaking down of the plywood, and some kids are taking off the metal and making new ramps out of them because they're not secured properly, and all that kind of stuff. Homeless people opening up what DPW did and sleeping over at the night doing their drugs and then walking out of there the next day and you don't catch them. And I worked with the police chief and we had a great conversation about the security and the future of that area. So I do want to give kudos to Chief Woodson. I also want to thank the DPW because they spend about $500 to $1,000 per year replacing the plywood, priming it, trying to cut it, and we're not even talking man hours yet because it's not always vandals, it's the kids on bikes and skateboards, and they're rough with it, and that's what kids do if you're an outside kid. And you're gonna sprain ankles and break bones and have slight concussions, and hopefully nobody gets seriously hurt. But they spend a lot of time doing that for 2-3 days time, and it's just plywood, and then we have winter. And then winter comes in, tears it all up again, they start all over again. And it takes up a fifth, more than a fifth, 2/5 of their maintenance budget to do it. So but they fix it. And that's a short-term fix. But then there's a long-term plan. How do we do that? And I agree with Councilor Catrona that DPW is running short of personnel to get things done, and we plan on fighting that battle down the road. But you put cement and you put metal in there and you secure it properly to the ground, you may not have as much wear and tear as you would with just regular plywood. That, by the way, is costing them, I think they got 6 sheets of plywood the other day, $500, because the cost is so high. So, and they don't have enough. So I thank them for all the work that they're doing to make sure the kids are going there. One comment was made about a regional asset. I get phone calls. I have a young man from Rhode Island who wants to fix one of the boxes over there. He's a BMX guy. He grew up in this area and he wants to help. We also have people from Charlton that I get texts, and if anybody wants them, I'll screenshot them and send them to you. And then local, Webster, and a few other places. This is a regional asset where kids come because they know there's a skate park. When they thought that the council was shutting the place down, you should have seen the hysteria over it when that wasn't really true. But it was all over the region. So maybe those kids go and they skate for the day, and then they, buy something locally. It's the little small things. I will respectfully not agree with Mr. Smick on that, because I think everything that we do in this town has to be economically oriented. I think that skate park is one of those. I think the rail trail is one of those. I think inviting small businesses in here and being good stewards of our community, it's all part of it, including our schools. So I think the whole gamut, we got to pay attention to the whole gamut, not just one single point. Again, I reiterate that it's not a skate park. It's the basketball courts that are over there. It's the handball courts. Somebody was texting me today, just a few minutes ago, asking me how much money didn't the town take care of the handball court. Well, no, actually, it was Will and Nancy Ortiz from the New England Handball Association. They're the ones who put on the clinics over there. And they bring a lot of young people, not just kids, young adults over there. And they have tournaments all the way from New York, came a couple years, I think. Councilor Daniel and I were there. So that's another thing. I appreciate what Ms. Dean and Mr. Rumsey have done, because now they've taken this thing and they've made it a little bit better for us to actually think outside the box and make something really nice in that area. Another thing is, if we look at, and Councilor Marchetti brought this up the other day, which is pretty cool, because he brought up about Open Spaces Recreation Plan, 2017, it's right here, and it talks about Capillo Park. All right, and it talks about all of our fields and the rail trails and how they all interlink to each other. So I appreciate him bringing that up, because I did print this out and I finally brought it to use, Also, I think when we talk about, Councilor Lazo brought up about the maintenance, you're right. It's like building a road and walking away and 20 years later and trying to figure out why there's potholes all over the place because we didn't maintain it. That's why we have a recreation director. That's why we should have a recreation director. We do have one now, and he's part-time, and I've said it before. I'll be the first one to say he's working out and being aggressive. You bring that individual on full-time to really help out the DPW and other areas. That is a minority area, by the way, over there at Henry Street and Capillo. And it's something for those kids to do every day. And, it's a mixture of all kinds of young men and women that from all over the place that really make that park. If you go down there, and I've said it before, go on a weekend, go during the weekdays, in the evenings, that place is packed. It is packed. And it's probably the most used park we have in this town, or those parks. So, yeah, and I do agree with the other councilors. We do need to look at other things. But at this point in time, this is what's on the agenda, is this area. So if we want to talk about those other areas, I have no problem, and we can try to find out and support your ideas as much as we possibly can. I'll get off my high horse, but I do want to say I appreciate Councilor Catrona providing the police report here. What I found out, there was and I'm not good at math, so bear with me. Total of about 121 calls or checks of those parks, or Capillo Park, over a 36-month period. That averages out to less than, just over 3 calls per month for Capillo Park. When I went back in and took a look at just routine patrols, because they call them in and all that kind of stuff, that 121 went down to 65 issues or calls into the police department. That turned into less than 2 calls per month for Capillo Park. And not to go into deep details, the number one issue over there was trespassing, and most of the trespassing was during COVID. There was marijuana, there was an assault. That was, I believe, a walk-in, but there was an assault that happened there. There was a gentleman that was passed out on the road near Capillo Park. He drank a little bit too much, and thankfully, I hope he's doing well. A lot of motorized issues, like dropping off cars, thinking it's a parking lot, and I think the police has done a really good job. It used to be full of abandoned cars. Now you don't really see those anymore, abandoned. A couple dog issues, a couple runners got caught. They ran in the woods. So when I take a look at these numbers, I think any park you go to, regardless of what part of the town you go or another town down the road, you're going to probably find some of the same numbers. I would not be surprised. And it's a place for those young men and women to go and interact and socialize and become better people. We shut that place down because I can tell you, I don't think we can keep on doing the skate park, paying $1,000 each year to do it. And you're going to have other issues down the road from kids riding their bikes in the streets, skateboards, problems, troubled youth. And I will give credit where credit is due. There are a lot of young leaders over at Henry Street, over at Capillo, that really want to do a good job. They can't save them all, they can't do everything, but they're setting the example for some of our youth. And I do appreciate all the work that they volunteer for. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. A lot of good discussion about this grant, and just a couple things. One, to Councilman Marquette's point, on Charlton Street, those two, the Pop-Warner Fields and the skate rink, those are operated by the school department and are not operated by the town. So those are purely within the purview of the school department, so anything that have to be done is the school department on those fields. We've had those conversations going back many years, but that's the school's responsibility to maintain those areas. And whatever they decide to do with that rink, it's up to the school department to do that. We got permission to put the dog kennel in that area because, and we had to go to ask permission for that, and they granted that to us. I'm all for more policing. I'm a law enforcement kind of guy. I would recommend that this council in July schedule a PPP meeting. We had a lot of conversations about utilization of the auxiliary police department. I'm just going to speak from because I'm active as a part-time police officer right now. Due to the Police Reform Act that was just recently enacted, the requirements for part-time police officers, reserve, auxiliary officers has changed tremendously. The requirements for the training that these reserve auxiliary police officers are now going to have to go to are going to, and the timeline hasn't been established, but as of July 1, you have to make sure you have all your training up to date. Town has to provide your firearms and all that for reserve status. Then they will start a bridge program that every part-time auxiliary police officer has to become a full-time certified police officer. And then the question becomes, who's going to pay that cost? So so I recommend that the council, come July, when the chief's available, have a PPP meeting to discuss. I know the chief and I have had conversations just based on my experience as a previous chief about thoughts about what's happening with part-time. He has some concerns about how that program may be able to go forward because of the requirements of the Police Reform Act. So I think that's why you don't see a lot of auxiliary police officers out right now, is because of those new reform acts. And it's not a problem just for Southbridge. It's a problem for a lot of small towns that rely solely, like myself, on part-time police officers. And that requirement is quite substantial. So we'll see how that works out, but I recommend that the council does that July. Councilor Lazo?
In reference to the Capillo Park, or parks in general. It was brought up, I don't even know who brought it up at the meeting, but it was why don't we put a hunting camera in the trees and film the park? So if there is damage, you can go back to it and see what happened. So, I mean, the eye in the sky don't lie, and I appreciate all of what you're saying about policing, but in some cases, I mean, you know, if they're just beating the police officer by 5 minutes and the damage is done, we could still catch them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
No.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
And Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1 with Counselor Catrona opposed. Item 27. Good luck, Peg. Thank you for bringing that forward. Item 27, vote to approve a request for up to $10,000 from the miscellaneous income account number 214000, I believe that should be dash, 482500802230 to fund market appraisals for properties within the urban renewal area.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Adams.
Unanimous, all present at the Planning and Development Subcommittee meeting.
Any questions on this? Councilor Steves.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to how will a property be chosen that's going to get appraised?
Peg? Or whoever can answer that question. Peg, you have somebody aboard with you?
We do. So our consultant, Jeff Vassar from BSC Group, I can't break down the acronym on that one, sorry, Councilor Marquetti, is here to answer any questions, and I'll leave it to him if that's okay.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you. Right now, within the current urban renewal plan, there are certain properties that were identified to be acquired by the redevelopment authority if there was a identified need to take that action. So it's my understanding this request is to initiate the appraisal process of a key parcel in downtown. It's identified in the urban renewal plan and is a key parcel that would take, you could probably think of better words, but enhance or supplement the roadway improvement project that's being designed for construction in the next couple of years.
So Jeff, I took your recommendation and we left it vague. The council was very curious in asking many questions, and as I explained to them, the reason for the vagueness is because we wanted to leave those opportunities for the redevelopment authority to have the conversations on their own outside of the public eye. And so however and they asked if this was what you'd recommended, how you recommended we handle it. I said yes. But if you feel otherwise, it's up to you. I'd said that similar to what you just said, any of the acquisitions that are slated within the urban renewal plan can be found by the public if they were to look up the details.
What's that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a parcel that would be adjacent to the roadway improvements. It's in the plan, and I guess I don't mean to be coy, but we meaning consultants that are in this business try to encourage redevelopment authorities that when there is a need to acquire property, they do it through a negotiation with the property owner. We do not like to use eminent domain for things like this. And the appraisal would help the redevelopment authority understand the value of the property. Peg, I don't mind saying it, it's in the plan. If that's okay with you, if you give me a head nod. It's the Morel Monument property, a small triangular parcel that's located right adjacent to the abandoned rail line right off of Central Street across from La Rochelle. So it's a key piece of property at that intersection and would enhance the future, hopefully, expansion of the rail trail in and through Southbridge.
Okay. All set, Council?
Thanks.
Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to the town manager. Just a couple of questions. Doesn't the town assessor do all the appraisals of town properties in town?
They assess values, but I don't know if they're assessing them for fair market value. I couldn't get into the specifics. It's not an area of my expertise, but I often know that people would come in for abatement saying that my house was only assessed at whatever, and the answer usually is, yeah, but that's not the fair market value. So I think when they're looking for to do an appraisal here, they're trying to get what it's really worth if you were going to try and sell it, where we're doing an assessment based on certain features, the structure and the land to determine a tax value. So I think there's a difference there.
All right, thank you. And also, it says here that no interior inspection will be made of the improved properties. Why would there be no interior inspections? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the town manager.
And I'm not sure what Jeff can add to this, but a lot of times, even when we do an assessment, people don't have to let you in. And I know my prior experience in another community, if people don't want to let you in to do an interior appraisal, that we would just make an assessment based on our estimate. I think it's probably the situation where unless somebody wants to allow us in, but if this is in any way adversarial, you're probably not going to get entry to the premises, and you'd have to make some type of estimation.
Okay, thank you. The other thing I'm reading here is that the information will be gleaned from exterior observations and data gathered from the assessor's office. So basically, they're just taking what the assessor has provided and gleaning the information from that. And that's what it looks like. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay. Any other discussion, questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
And Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 9-0. Item 28, vote to amend Urban Agenda Consultant BSC Group's contract and ratify change order number 1 with no change to the final contract amount of $45,000.
So moved.
Second?
Councilor Adams?
Unanimous of all present that day, P&D.
Thank you. Any questions? Comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
And Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Unanimous of all present.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I'm going to be stepping out and recusing myself because I work for a direct competitor to the next agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. So for the record, Councilor Ryan has recused herself from any discussion or participation in agenda item 29. Item 29, vote to ratify the host community agreement between the town of Southbridge and the Dutchman LLC regarding the siting of an adult-use cultivation manufacturing facility in the town of Southbridge at 833 Main Street rear, Assessors Map 33, Parcel 02C.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, Councilor Adams.
Mr. Chair, it was passed unanimously, all present. There was a major question about the company itself from Councilor Steve, so he could probably explain, but I'm sure he's going to ask that question, so.
Okay. Do you want to ask a question, or you want me to go to the town manager first? Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay,
And
well-
the town manager can echo if he
Well,
has
my
a question.
concern was that at P&D, I had done some looking on the state's corporations database here in Massachusetts and what's called the Concord database, which is the equivalent in Connecticut. And the company called Dutchman LLC doesn't exist. Nor is there any listing for Mr. Valdez, despite the fact that the very first paragraph of the agreement says that he's a duly registered LLC in Massachusetts with a business office in Connecticut. And the fact that the company has a business office in Connecticut and does business in Massachusetts in itself is not unusual. That happens all the time. But in this case, it's not listed by either state as existing. And as you guys know, I'm in favor of trying to promote legal cannabis and getting it done right, and having another growing facility is a great idea. But I am really concerned about the idea of getting into a host community agreement with an organization that does not seem to exist. I don't know if anybody has found any evidence that they actually do. And I don't know if, I guess through you to the manager, if you've seen anything since then, or if anybody's had a chance to do any homework to find out where this organization is actually registered, if it is.
Okay. Mr. Town Manager, I'll go to you first. Oh, you want to go to Eric?
I have not. I would have deferred to Mr. Rumsey, who was working on this. He was the primary point of contact. I know he was out sick today, so, and I do not see his name up there, so
He is up there.
Oh, he is. He is
He's
now?
up there.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, Eric. Usually I don't see your picture. I was looking for the big
Yeah, I know.
ER.
Usually it's a phone call, so nice to see you, Eric. Okay?
Thank you. Yes, good to be seen.
You're going to have to speak.
Can you all hear me?
Okay. Hold on one second. They're going to switch you to view so we can see you. If the cable can do that. Okay? Go ahead, Eric. You have another
Okay, thank
question?
you. So when Councilor Steve brought this to light, we initiated contact with the individuals at the Dutchman group or the proposed Dutchman group. Their attorney sent me an email on Friday stating that they were doing the filing, and as soon as they had it, they would give me the articles of incorporation, or I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong, but that's basically what he said he would give me. I think at this point, because they don't exist as an entity, my recommendation to you all, if I can make one, would be to table this to the next meeting, and hopefully they'll have that filing taken care of at that point.
Councilor Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. I was kind of waiting for Mr. Rumsey and I had a conversation about have they applied, have they done the right thing. We're giving them an opportunity to come up to the town council and say that this is what they've done so far. I would recommend at this time to postpone this, actually.
I recommend to go back to
Recommended planning and development.
Motion to refer, I'll second that motion.
Okay. I would say, motion to take no action and refer back to plan and development for further.
Just a straight motion to refer
Okay.
automatically takes it back to subcommittee.
Okay. All right. Thank you. There's
I
a motion
second
to
that
refer
motion.
back to plan and development. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan? Recused. Counselor
Recused.
Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
And Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Okay, motion back to. Counselor Adams, what date is your meeting?
It is now the 22nd at 6:30.
Okay, I do know that later on in this meeting, we're going to talk about returning back to council, the remote. And I'm sure the guidance that I got, and I'm sure the town manager might be able to share with us that's later, is that absent any action taken by the legislature by June 14th, there is no remote. There's some issues with remote participation and the like. Right, am I correct? In the open meeting law, and we do not have a approved remote participation by council members. Right. So my recommendation would be that anybody that appears before plan and development, that they come into the town council.
At a minimum, you would be required, Mr. Chairman, to have a physical quorum. Before you couldn't. So that interpretation, I think, would be best if we went to that route. I do think there is growing sentiment to have remote participation from the audience, and I think that may be something we continue to look at. But there's an effort, I want to say, on Beacon Hill to allow, or at least some advocacy groups are looking, including the MMA, to continue some type of hybrid. But my understanding is, as you've indicated, we're going to, at the end of the state of emergency, go back to traditional meetings, at least with the body being present and having the quorum here versus a quorum elsewhere.
Thank you. I would just ask personally that if this entity has this many questions, that they be personally before the council if we're going to vote on a host agreement of this magnitude. That we've done a lot of stuff on remote, but this is huge implications, and they need to explain their corporate. That's just my take on that. Councilor Adams?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I turned around to see if they actually showed up, and they did not show up. So, but on the previous comment, Yvonne and I have already sat down, had a conversation. We're going to wait until the 14th, 15th to make the decision where the meeting's going to take place on the 22nd.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I didn't mean to hybrid them. I know you're ready. Can we just take a quick 5-minute break to stretch? It's almost 9 o'clock. We'll just recess for 5 minutes and come. I'll make it 10, and we'll come back. at 9 o'clock, which will be 9 minutes. Thank you. Okay, council back in session at 9 p.m. Agenda item 30. This is all, I guess. Next several items are Department of Public Works related. Item 30, vote to approve the DPW transfer request from account number 001499-5210000-0499 electricity DPW for $4,750 to various accounts. Number 00149-5210000-0001 electricity various for $1,000 to account number 00149-5210000-0425 electricity town hall for $3,000 and account number 00149-5210000-0431 electricity traffic and school lights for $750 to cover the cost for electricity to the end of the year.
So moved.
Second.
Recommendation of DPW?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was recommended 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
And Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Unanimous, all present. Item number 31, vote to approve a DPW sewer transfer request from account number 600-440-583-000-89500 Capital Reserve to account number 600-440-5210000 electricity for $67,000 to cover the cost of electricity until the end of the year.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Council Marquetti, recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was recommended 4-0.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
And Counselor Jovan?
Yes. Motion carried unanimously of all present. Item 32, vote to approve a DPW streetlights transfer request from free cash for $17,674.89 in account number 001132-578100 Town Council Reserve for $47,325.11 to account number 001297-521000 electricity streetlights for a total transfer amount of $65,000 to cover the cost of electricity to the end of the year.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Council Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was recommended 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Council Steves.
I thought I heard you say 65,000, but the agenda item says 67,000.
No.
All I,
Oh, yeah, it was supposed to be corrected.
what's that? Is it 65,000? It's 65,000.
65.
Yeah.
I may have 60, I might have looked up at the, it's 65,000.
It is 65, okay.
Yeah. If I said 67, I'm sorry, I looked.
No, you said 65, but the agenda item says 67, so.
No, the previous one says 67.
Previous one says 67. We already voted on 31. We're on 32.
Oh, okay, okay. You're right, I see it, sorry.
Chairman, if I can just mention one thing. During the DPW subcommittee, Councilor Steves asked me how much had been spent year-to-date for streetlights. Year-to-date, we are at $175,442.67. In comparison, that's only for 9 months of National Grid bills and 10 months of Land of the Sky. The previous year is $182,205, so we're already approaching that. We've spoken multiple times. I know I've been up here in front of council about how much National Grid's rates have gone up. We have had some correspondence recently with them saying that they are still looking into it, but we haven't seen any numbers come back from them or what we could see for reduction, but we did want to be prepared to be able to pay these bills at the end of the year, because we do expect to still see bills, at least from Land of the Sky. I do have a cost tableization that I will share with you. It's a projection from the last 3 years of what the costs have done. They have skyrocketed over 50%, and all the increase in cost currently is shown in the National Grid portion of these bills, not in the Land of the Sky. So I will provide this to you in an email tomorrow. I don't need to burden you, but I do think it's important you know where the money is going.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Thank you. DPW Director. Roll call.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
And Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Unanimous, all present. Item 33, vote to approve a DPW water transfer request from account number 610450-583-000-91250, capital reserve to account number 610450-521-000, electricity for $15,000 to cover the cost of electricity to the end of the year.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was recommended 4-0.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this one? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
And Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Unanimous, all present. Item 34, vote to approve a DPW water transfer request from account number 610450-583-000-11585, remote meter reading to project number 63750 South Street Water Main Design for $165,000 to cover the cost of construction, administration, and oversight for the South Street transmission main replacement and resurfacing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilor Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was recommended 3-1 with Councilors Dow and Steves voting yes, Citizen Member Steve Laza voting yes, and Marquetti voting no.
Thank you. Discussion? Any discussion on this one? Councilor Marquetti?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, through the town manager. Aren't these administration and oversight, aren't these built into the bidding document when we put things out to bid? Don't we have oversight built right into the bid?
I was going to say, I think Ms. Blakely can, but typically it's not until after we get the RFP and the bid in, then we look at oversight and administration, but.
So the original contract that we had with Ty and Don to do the South Street water main design did not include any administration or oversight of the construction, because at the time of the contract that we put out for the design, we weren't sure what type of project we were going to have. They evaluated multiple different options before they went into final design. It would have been impossible for them to give us an accurate estimate of what the oversight and administration was going to be. So at that time, we did not include it in the project because it wasn't a clearly defined project.
But you, I'm sorry, through the chairman to the town manager, but when you put something, when a job is going to be worked on, you must know that it's going to have some oversight. At some point, someone's going to be overseeing these jobs.
And we did, but we made a conscious decision not to include it with the bid because there were 3 options we were evaluating. Complete replacement of the mains was one of the options. Lining of the mains was one of the options. So they had to do different evaluations. It's not the same construction project if you line the mains versus if you do complete removal. So different evaluations of what the most beneficial project was for the town were evaluated.
Okay. We're talking about oversight of the project. Yeah, the other
We're talking
question,
about oversight of the construction phase of the project, not the design phase. So the design phase was one, now we're moving into the construction phase. So it's oversight of the actual construction of the project itself.
and you must have known at some point through the chairman that you were going to have to do oversight of the project.
Of course we did. But we don't have a contract for it and we don't have any funding for it, so we only had funding for the design.
The other question I have is, wouldn't it be beneficial to the town to hire a construction supervisor to oversee these projects? Would it save the town a lot of money?
So let's, for example, say that we hired one person to do construction oversight. Which project are they going to construct? What are they going to oversee? Main Street, South Street, down at the wastewater treatment plant? They can't be at multiple places at all at the same time. We are going to have multiple construction projects going on at the same time. In addition, it takes very many different skill sets of work. There's experts on paving, there's experts on water lines, there's experts on different things that a big company can bring in. But right now, we're really not talking about doing the contract, we're just talking about doing the transfer to pay for the contract. So if I can go back, this transfer is transferring money out of a line item that was for radio, the radio read system that we were paying back. We had a 10-year payback program. This year, in this current budget, we didn't actually have to pay it back It was missed when we did the budget because it was always included. So we have this money available. So we're trying in the existing budget to find money to be able to pay for our oversight and engineering of that. Could we look in the future about hiring somebody? Absolutely, I don't have a problem looking in the future, but right now we have a need immediately, and we're not going to find somebody with the skill set and the expertise to go out there and be this oversight person. In addition, you would still need the technical engineer that stamped the plans to answer technical questions. That's part of the job of the engineer that you hire to do your design. If we have to make decisions about what they did in their design process, it actually starts to violate that stamped drawings that we have. So we have to sometimes pay for that engineering in case there's questions that come up in the construction phase.
Thank you. If I could continue, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Council.
So you have paid for the engineering part of it, so if they have to stamp any engineering plans, you have already paid them for that. Now we're talking about oversight of the construction, correct?
Correct.
So that's why I thought, well, maybe it would be cheaper if we hired somebody to be a construction supervisor to overlook these jobs. I know we've had other engineering companies that we have hired to oversee projects in town. Central Street parking lot is one of them, and there were a lot of mistakes down there. VHB is another one, a lot of mistakes on the Main Street project. So to me, if we had someone who worked for the town and was overseeing all these projects for the town, my own opinion is that it would be more beneficial and a lot less costly if we did it ourselves than constantly hiring out to these engineering companies. And it was an interesting point that you made about the remote meter reading, because the way I read this, it was an oversight during the budget hearing, budget process, that was left in.
This is correct.
So to me...
I already admitted that.
Correct. So if that was left in, you were charging the customers twice.
No,
right?
we're not charging the customers twice at anything, because this money, if it doesn't, it goes back into the retained earnings. It's not getting charged at all.
All right.
It's just part of our budget. So
Wouldn't go back
our
to
budget
the-
was basically flat last year.
All right.
It's just part of the budget. It
So
can
it
go
wouldn't
back.
go-
Could you let her
into-
answer the question,
Sorry.
please, Councilor?
It can go back into the retained earnings, and you can share 10% of that money with Charlton.
Right, all right. Wouldn't go back to the customers.
Excuse me?
If you overcharged me for something and I wanted my money back, I would want my money back. I wouldn't...
It doesn't. It goes back into the retained earnings.
All right, thank you.
It
That's
doesn't
all.
go back to on the rate.
Thank you. That's
Can
it.
I just ask a follow-up? Did customers get charged because of the remote meter reading?
Did the customers get charged? No, it was part of the budget.
Right, so no customer got charged
No.
for the remote meter?
Nope.
Okay, number one.
What?
Number two, I just want to make sure I'm clear. I think I understand you. You have multiple different projects going, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So an individual that we hire to build Main Street has a specific skill set.
Correct.
And I'll liken that to if I have a heart issue, I have a heart doctor that goes specifically for my heart. The water is like a vascular doctor that pumps. Special skill set. And I can appreciate Councilor Marchetti's point that maybe perhaps it's possible to have a construction oversight, but there's such vast different construction projects that you want that specialist that knows all the regulations. I just want to make sure I'm clear on that analogy.
You're absolutely correct. And so when that one person, if we hired, wasn't here, who's filling in for them? Because you have to plan for that. You have to have multiple people that are going to be out there doing the oversight, and you want it to be relatively consistent. I've done this work personally. This is my background. Very often this is done by a consultant, because hiring somebody and having them on staff and then having to pay for them for the next project, it just doesn't come. All the skill sets are different. You know, when you go down to the wastewater treatment plant, you want somebody that's specialized in wastewater treatment. Right. When it comes to doing the paving part of the project, you want somebody who is specialized in paving. Those people might be being billed from the same contractor, but they have different specialties, so they can address different things. I would love to have more staff in my office to help administer projects. I just know that that person wouldn't be able to administer all the projects we have, because we have too many projects if they are going to go out and do full-time oversight and then administration. It's not just one person that we're paying for under these. It's multiple people, people that are watching the quantities, people that are having to put the paperwork together to submit to us. It's a lot of work.
Okay, any further discussion?
Nope, I'm good.
Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
No.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
And Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1 with Counsel Marquetti opposed. Item 35, vote to approve a DPW request from account number 001495-529000 special services to account number 001499-533100 maintenance on trees in the amount of $10,000 to cover removals from trees in the area of Rogers Street, property owned by the town on Oak Ridge Cemetery. Is there a
So
motion?
moved. Second.
Counsel Marquetti, recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is recommended 4-0.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
And Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 36, vote to ratify customer service agreement with UniFirst at quoted rates and weekly amount of $64.74 or yearly cost of $3,366.47 from account number 01499-519200 for the DPW uniform
So
service.
moved.
Second.
Counsel Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 4-0.
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
I do have a couple of questions to answer from the subcommittee meeting.
Okay.
The term is clarified in the comment section, and I don't know if you have an updated copy of the UniFirst customer service agreement, but it does state a 36-month term, even though in the details in the back, this is a clarification. In addition, it's a fixed cost increase of 5% no matter what from year to year. It's still much cheaper than the other two bids that we received, even with the cost increases. So I think those were two questions that the councilors had.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
And Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0. Item 37, vote to ratify the contract with Ludlow Construction in the amount of $3,744,207 with the base bids and bid alternate 1 to include Old South Road reconstruction funded from project 64420 South Street paving at $300,000. Project 64879 South Street transmission main replacement at $3 million and Chapter 90 funds $444,207.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Counsel Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is recommended 4-0.
Thank you. Any questions on that? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
And Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0. When is that construction going to start in South Street? Anticipated.
August.
Okay. Well, no, because the only reason
Oh,
I
it's-
want, we have a lot of road projects
Oh,
going.
we have a lot of road projects going. We would like to have, we are trying to get the water lines in place before winter so that we can let them settle to have final pavement come in the spring.
Thank you.
That's the plan of operations.
Right. It's just, we have,
We have a lot
for
of.
the public, I mean,
Yes.
we have these
Yep.
meetings, we approve a lot of money, and we hear a lot on the roads,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a lot of roads projects that are going out to bid, approved, and all that. So there's a lot of construction going on. We just want the public to know that this council this year, under the PTW chair, has worked a lot to bring roads to the forefront. So there will be a lot of construction,
There will
and
be.
people will start seeing roads improve. But to Council Adams' point, it's 20 years, you don't do anything, can't fix it all in 1 year. So, Councilor Lazo?
I might be out of order, Mr. Chairman. Feel free to tell me where to
If you
speak.
just
I
have-
just wanted to bring up, we're on roads, and I'm talking about Central Street. I pulled out of Central Street. I noticed they moved the curbing out to put it to a one-lane entering Main Street. My question is,
Can we talk about in the Main Street discussion?
Yeah, we have a Main Street discussion
Oh,
coming.
I'm sorry.
Yep. So,
I didn't see it.
I just wanted to say that this was just a part of a bunch of the reconstruction, so. Item 38, vote to ratify amendment number 1 from Ty and Bond for the construction phase services, South Street Water Transmission Main and Road Reconstruction Project in the amount of $170,000 to add construction administration and construction observation services.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was recommended 3-1 with Councilor Steves and Dow voting yes, Steve Lazo voting yes, and Marquetti voting no.
Okay. Discussion? I'll go Councilor Catrone first and then Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a comment, if I could. I plan on voting in favor of this evening, but we have Ludlow Construction, Ty and Bond, Roadway, and just the same question that I asked the subcommittee to the town manager, and I'll ask again. Have you reviewed these contracts?
This one is, well, you asked me about the other one, the Ludlow one, yes, I did. We're on,
So it's all encompassing, Mr. Manager. Did you review those contracts within these roads projects?
as I indicated the other night, we used standard form, and one of them worked on the water ops. You asked me about the one with, I want to say for Ty and Bond for Ludlow. I did go back and look at that, and I did look up the owner's representative. Oftentimes, that's a requirement on larger contracts that are significantly more expensive, but I don't think we're giving up any rights by allowing them to go in and do management on our behalf while facilitating this agreement. So I didn't see anything that jumped out at me.
Thank you.
Yeah. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to repeat myself, I think that don't you think it would be cheaper if we had a construction supervisor? I mean, these are 2 jobs now, both South Street. They're not starting till August. It seems to me it would be better if we hired one person to oversee these projects.
So I don't know if I'm out of line as chairman, but I think that was asked and answered. But if you want to elaborate on it quick, I think she answered it pretty elaborately, and we had discussion on it, but go ahead.
I can appreciate the concept of hiring internally to do this job. I don't think that you understand that when you hire somebody that you're going to pay a professional engineer still, or at least somebody who has their EIT license, some type of licensure for a year with some experience, a considerable amount of money, and then also pay them benefits and also pay those other long-term costs that, if you hire somebody at $100,000 a year, plus their benefits, you're paying more than this. And I understand there's multiple projects, and maybe we would still need some type of engineering oversight, engineering assistance to answer RFIs, which are requests for information, to do some submittal review. I've worked in this construction oversight industry for a very long time on very different projects. I started with it when I graduated from college, working under people. Usually this is a team. This isn't a single person that's going in and doing these things, because a single person can't do all of the oversight that you are going to need to do. I will consider it and look at it, but we can't do it and hire a person for August to start this work. So I strongly recommend on this very high-profile project that we stay with the team that we have in place that is knowledgeable about the work that we're doing, because this is such critical infrastructure. There's many times when I would come to you and say, we can do this work ourselves, so you do not have to hire an oversight engineer. It won't be full-time, but we'll administer it, and we'll review the builds, and we'll review, the pay applications, and all of those things that have to be reviewed. There's 30-something pay items. Every single one of them has a quantity associated. Every single one of those has to be measured and monitored. So there are times that I would say that my department, me and Matt, will do that. This is not one of those projects that I would say is a good idea. These are your 2 main transmission mains to your town that serves every drop of water that comes to this. You want oversight, and you want this done right.
All right, thank you. And to the council chairman, I do think that these are 2 different projects, so that's why I was asking the question. But I see your point, and I'll let it go at that. Thank you.
Councilman Marquetti, my only point was it was the same question on a different project. I thought she answered it, but it was a good answer by a DPW director, and I would recommend that this council have further discussion come July 1, whoever the DPW subcommittee chair is, and take a look at it and study it and do cost-benefit analysis, no different than we've done before. And what is the staff and how do we go about that? And is it cost-effective to hire construction oversight within that? And how long are you going to do it? And once you hire them full-time, if there's a season you don't have a lot of construction because of funding, you lay that person off, there's a cost to that. So it's worth further study, as it is for that whole DPW department, as to staffing levels itself. So July 1, new council sits. Well, it's going to be the same council unless there's a massive writing. But whoever the chair is and the DPW chair is, take it under advisement and talk about it. I have no problem with that. I think that's a good idea.
I would just say quickly, Mr. Chair, through you, if you can find a licensed engineer for $100,000 a year, it's not going to happen. 140, 160 plus benefits, it's not going to happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council Lazo?
Just a quick comment. I think Mr. Marquetti is spot on what his intent is, but I also see it as the DPW director on the South Street project is a little bit different than Everett or some of the other streets you got to work on. But again, Jack, to your point, it would be good to look into it once we reorganize for future projects. Because I've worked on projects where they have project managers, but it's more to the building side, not so much to the ground side. But they hire a testing firm that does all the testing on the projects, on the asphalt, on the concrete, on the compaction, the nuclear compaction, everything gets done. You have to hire the lab, when you hire Ty and Bond, they are the whole show, so I don't know if I'm out of line. I think it's viable to look at, but when you have these projects in the shoe, now's not the time to stop the project. Let's look at it. We should have maybe came up with this idea before we ran into all of the ready, set, go agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
No.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
And Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1 with Counselor Marquetti opposed. Vote to ratify the contract with Indus for not to exceed $500,000 funded from Project 64843 roadway paving construction and reconstruction.
So moved. Second.
DPW Subcommittee.
Thank you,
So-
Mr. Chairman. This was approved
I'm
4-0. Sorry.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead. Go ahead. So Indus was the only bidder we did have on our pavement preservation portion of our roadway improvements for this year. So we originally budgeted $500,000. We will control the quantities so that they'll have a contract not to exceed $500,000 based on the bid unit prices. If you look in what they had bid on, it was a little higher, but we're going to award the contract based on $500,000. They understand that was what we had for budgeted money. We have worked with Indus previously. My brain's not melting, so they have done previous crack sealing in the town. We've been very happy with the crack sealing that they had done. We started over on Pleasant Street 5 years ago. They've done that. It's actually held up really well and helped prevent that street from further deterioration. So we will provide them with a list of streets to do and start with. We already have that list from the pavement management study, and we will be overseeing this project ourselves.
Thank you. Counselor Steves.
Can we just post that list to the town's website so the public can see it?
I can't hear you.
I say, can we post that list to the town website so the public can see it, so that they know that if they're living on certain streets, they'll see some pavement work going on?
Sure. I
Thank you.
believe that the street list was already provided up there, but I will make sure that it's up there.
Okay.
Thank you. Counselor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. This is for crack sealing, fog sealing, and micro surfacing. You had mentioned that the paving part has not started yet, but when do you think that
The
might...
pavement bids come in tomorrow.
Tomorrow? All right, thank you. Yep. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
And Counselor Jovan?
Yes. So again, for the public, Main Street, South Street, micro sealing,
Fog sealing,
sealing.
microsurfacing, and crack sealing with additional work. I will be back with you again at the end of July to hopefully award the mill and overlay project. Because that bid comes in tomorrow, and we'll do our bid review and then get a subcommittee meeting and come back to you guys to award it.
If you awarded on June 29th, if you needed to have a special subcommittee meeting or a special town council meeting to accelerate the process, if needed, let us know.
Okay.
And I'm sure the councils will indulge to have a meeting if that's going to speed up the process
Facilitate
for
that?
road improvements, we will do whatever we have to do to continue the road improvements in town.
Well, I think we may have more items to discuss regarding Main Street after our discussion, so it might behoove us to have another meeting.
Okay, so after that conversation, if we do, I have no problem setting a special council meeting to make sure that that project does not stall and that we continue improvements as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Did we vote on 500? Did we vote on the 500?
Yeah, we voted.
Okay,
Yeah, we
thank you. Sorry. Item 40, vote to approve the installation of a handicap parking space in front of San Souci Funeral Home, 40 Mosley Street, with negative recommendation from the Traffic Commission.
So moved.
Second.
So, Mr. DPW Subcommittee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was a tie vote, 2-2, so I guess it failed to recommend. I will say this, though, that this is not the agenda that was on the meeting. Did not include the words with a negative recommendation from the Traffic Commission, and I don't know where that came from. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we can amend it and remove it, that's fine. That's what was given to me to approve, and I was not able to attend your meeting, so. Okay. Is there questions on this discussion? Council Lazo.
I'm the one carrying the ball on this one. I was at DPW Subcommittee. I thought it was very interesting that it had that on the agenda item. I've never seen that before. It's usually the council's recommendation of subcommittee. But anyways, moving on. The Traffic Commission has turned this down, and I felt that it was an exception to the belief, rules, and policy of the Traffic Commission in my eyes. So I talked to some of the Traffic Commission, and they bumped it up to council. And now I am going to say, although the policy on the Traffic Commission is do not do this, I think if the council looks at this, and I'm passionate about this issue for one reason. I went to a funeral, an elderly lady parked in the parking lot and had to go 175 feet, maybe a little less than that, to the handicap ramp that San Souci has built. Elaine San Souci has been a family business for approximately 100 years in the town of Southbridge. She maintains her property. It's pristine. When she does her snow removal, she cleans the gutter line, puts all the snow off the sidewalks, everything in her parking lot. When you look at her funeral home as it evolved, it used to have a big tenement house on the side of it. She tore the tenement house down, removed it actually, removed the house, and she put in about, I don't know, it was about a $40,000 pristine parking lot because the streets were not enough. So she had her own parking lot built in the only area that she could build it. This new parking lot, she also added a heated $20,000 handicap ramp to the sidewalk. And in doing that, she has a hearse delivery driveway in between the parking lot and the entrance to her funeral home. Where this thing is, this request, it's on the corner. During the day, and I know that there are some councils that have went and looked at it and have seen that there's not a lot of parking on that side of the street until there is a funeral. And then it gets busy. If there are no funerals, they're not busy. So it's the kind of thing that servicing the handicapped, servicing the elderly, and accommodating a business in the town of Southbridge, to me, when that lady told me, an elderly lady, chewed me out because she knew I was on the council, and said, why don't you give this business a parking spot so I don't have to come that 175 feet, 150 feet? And I turned around and I said, I'll look into it. And that's when I got on the trail of, why didn't she get one? And it was responded to me that if you do for one, you have to do for everybody. And I disagree. Because in some cases, you have exceptions to all rules. This is one of those exceptions where you have a beautiful parking lot, you have a hearse delivery driveway to a garage, between it, you have an entrance with a monster set of stairs, and then she puts in a brand new heated handicap ramp, walls, pavers. She went first class as usual. This family business for over 100 years cannot get a handicap access on that street is just unacceptable to me. So I'm here going to bat on this one because although I do agree with the parking commission on the way it's explained in certain areas of town, I get it. That doesn't fit here. And that's why I want the council to consider voting to give them the handicap access that they duly need. The elderly, the handicap, 150 feet. And you know what the laws are. She's trying her best. She's not even asking for the town to pay for it. She'll pay for it. She'll buy the sign. She'll paint the street. She'll do whatever the bylaw states that it has to be. And again, the maintenance of it. She maintains her curbs all the time. She maintains her sidewalks. So for me, the good Samaritan, the good business person, and the public service to the elderly and to the handicapped, that space is needed more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Dow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's not about the business, we don't give them handicap parking. It's about safety. It's a four-way intersection. It's a stop sign. You need a view clear to be able to make sure you're safe when you pull from that stop sign to move forward. You say 100 years that business there. I think they're being parking on a road. No enforcement was telling them not parking on the road. She can make a sign handicap, I think, during the funeral and save that parking for handicap parking and remove it the next when the funeral done. This is the safe thing if you want to really help the business to or the elderly to park in a safe spot to be able to use the handicap ramp. But I'm sure that the police department, the chief look at it, the DPW look at it, and all these people that make that decision is for a reason, for safety for the public, not for against every business want it. If you give it to one, then everybody want it. No, it's a safety issue. If they did the wrong decision from the beginning, send the ramp this way, that's their fault. If you look behind the ramp, is a nice little backyard. They can probably fit a handicap ramp there. But I think on the street, it's very small. It is traffic. There's back and forth cut off between Main Street and Hamilton Street. So it's a difficult for everybody. So I understand how you look at it as a business in town being 100 years. You're not giving them parking because you're going to give everybody else. I think this is a wrong way to look at it. It's a safety, it's a public safety. I think all these departments make that decision for a reason. And again, she can make a sign. I don't think Chief Wilson is going to complain or make her remove it. If she have a funeral there, to put it right there in the corner, temporary. When the funeral done, she can move it. Thank you.
And Councilor Ryan?
Mr. Chair, through you, that's my area. That's where I live. I can tell you, it doesn't make sense to me to not have it there near the handicap ramp. At the end of the day, you have to look at it like, what's for the best interest of the public? The best interest of the public is making sure it's perfectly accessible to those with disabilities. And I would contend that right now it's not because of the extended amount you have to walk, for one. For two, I live in that area, and you talk about traffic congestion. There is no traffic on that way unless you're having a funeral. I go through that intersection all the time, different times of day. It's super easy to go through. It being a four-way intersection is not a problem. At the end of the day, this is a common sense, give them the give them the access that the disabled people of this community need to so they can be able to properly and easily access a funeral home in which they just currently can't. It just boggles my mind that we're having a fight over whether or not to give disabled people access to the funeral home, and that's what it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Lazo?
Just a quick point of clarification. This handicap parking space is not on the corner. The corner is actually handicapped to get onto the sidewalk with the yellow traction pads. There's parking spaces all the way down in front of the funeral home. The only thing she's asking to do is to take one of the existing parking spaces that is down a ways from the corner, which is not a hazard because people are parking there when there's a funeral. If it was a hazard, we'd get rid of the parking on the street. So what we're doing is we're transforming one parking space, the last one that's near the edge of that handicap ramp, where they can get out, get on the sidewalk, or even if they get out of the other side of the vehicle, they can go around the rear of the vehicle, and the town sidewalk is handicap access to get onto the sidewalk. So for me, common sense says, I don't understand why this is happening. So as a counselor, when a little old lady in a wheelchair chews me out, I'm going to bring it to you and plead with you that this is needed for the public, never mind the business. I'm pushing the business part because I'm pro-business. But the lady's the one that drove the nail in for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Dow?
Oh, absolutely. You.
I'm sorry, Councilor. I'll go to Dow. I missed it. Go ahead, Councilor Dow. Go ahead.
So like how I say, she can get a permission from the Chief Wilson for a sign. When she have the funeral, only she can post it there for handicap and remove it when it's finished. I think this is the best way to help the business and best way to keep the community safe. Because in the winter, the big truck plowing there, it's going to be hard for them. If it's car parking there, handicap, how are they going to get out? They need enough space. If you say wheelchair, they're going to get up in the middle of the street. They need enough line, enough law. It's a rule. It's just not throw handicap parking there. And she's gonna go around the cars in the middle of the street to go around and go on the sidewalk to get the handicap park. I think as a safety, I'm sure, like how I say, everybody review it. That's why it was denied. And I think the best way to help the business, she can apply with the police department. When she have a funeral, she can get a sign, handicap, reserve that parking. When she's finished, she can remove it. I think that's the best way. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Stews?
I wanted to point out in the packet that we have, the most recent traffic commission meeting basically points out that they've been doing what you just suggested for some time. The way it states is, they say the committee's gone above and beyond allowing temporary posts and signs on the sidewalk whenever this is any type of service in order to accommodate parking needs. Does that mean that they are allowing essentially short-term handicapped parking in that space? How often is it used?
I wouldn't know. I don't monitor when they have funerals or what to say if it's being used or not.
Mm-hmm. But they have been posting a handicapped space or two somewhere near there.
It's my understanding that is what they've been doing, yes.
That's what it seems to be. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councilor Lazo?
2 points. She already put a handicap sign up on her post by the handicap ramp thinking that would handle the problem. It doesn't. They fill that parking spot by the handicap ramp with regular parking, and then after the handicap have to go the 150 feet. As far as snow, you want to bring up snow, you can't believe what this lady pays to remove the snow on her property and dump it in her property. And if there is a snow band, we have snow bands in Southbridge where you can't park on certain sides of the street. So there is no safety issue. That is smoke and mirrors at its best. This is pure and simple. One parking space with a wheelchair painted on it. Not a big deal. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Steves,
No.
Counselor Adams,
Yes.
Counselor Catrona,
Yes.
Counselor Daniel,
No.
Counselor Dow,
No.
Counselor Jovan,
Yes.
and Counselor Lazo.
Yes.
3 noes.
What's that?
3 noes.
3 noes, and I have Counselor Steves, Counselor Dow, and Counselor Daniel, correct?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I got a question.
What's that?
So when we vote on it in 2 and 2, so that it's okay to bring it up here, just no...
Any article that's taken up in subcommittee is purely recommendations to the council to take action.
Okay.
So if it comes up with no recommendation, typically it's not a negative recommendation, it's no recommendation, unless it was a negative vote. So if it's a tie vote 2-2, it comes up to the council with no recommendation, or typically no real recommendation. We could say it's a negative, but it's really not negative, it's no recommendation because it's a tie. If it, am I correct on that, Councilor Lazo? You're parliamentarian. But if it's a 1-3, then it's a negative.
So why we have the community vote on it at the beginning? If they're gonna come back here after there was no recommendation, what the reason we're gonna meet and vote on it, yes or no then?
So anything that comes before council goes to a subcommittee for review. That's the opportunity for councils to ask questions, for department heads to provide information. Any councilor can attend. You know, all councils can attend, but only the voting members of that subcommittee have a vote to recommend to council. So it's really a review process to say this is what's out there. It gives two opportunities to review. So rather than have a full discussion with the department head here at council that says, hey, this is what's going on. You know how it gets lengthy at times for transfers or whatever. There's an opportunity to ask all those questions in subcommittee, and then when you come here, councils typically might have 1 or 2 questions to clarify, or there could be larger debate.
So who you know, how you slide it under the fire will come up with. That's how it works, pretty much.
No.
This is how I see it.
No.
Yeah.
I just want,
Thank you.
I respectfully disagree. There are people that can put whatever they want to get to an agenda item to the town council. And then we refer it to, it'll either go to the town manager's office can say, hey, I had a citizen that wishes to do this. I'm going to refer it to a subcommittee. This citizen brought it forward to the traffic commission. Clearly in the notes, and thank you for the memos, and Yvonne had asked, do you want to have the minutes in there? And I said, yes. That way the council has some background, whether it went to subcommittee or not. She just said, do you want those minutes in there? I said, yes, if it will be helpful. So it was brought up by whatever, a council, whatever, say, hey, I would like to have this visited, DPW, will you look at it? And in this instance, it's not a citizen just submitted under the door. This has been ongoing since 2016. And clearly in this minutes of the last meeting, it says, DPW director says, I would like to bring it forward to council, to DPW subcommittee to say, hey, look at it. They have their right as a traffic commission to say, hey, we negatively recommend this, but council is council that makes decisions, and went through the right process. Went to DPW vetted it, they forwarded it to the full committee with whatever recommendation it can be. Negative, positive, nothing. And that's where it is. And so this is probably the clearest way that a process works correctly.
Right.
Then you see, this is how council's supposed to operate, just like this.
So all these departments review it and not recommend it for between the DPW, the chief, the other study, traffic study, the DPW department vote on it. All this is wrong, and that paper continue to become here in front of us to vote on it. So all these departments waste their time, waste the study, where the energy, and the police department, DPW, all these people, they say no, 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 no. It just came up here like that. I never see it. I know I'm a new 1 year old.
Yeah.
But I never see something like this ever before. Just continue coming with all these saying no on it just to get here and get it approved. Thank you.
So,
Mr. Chair?
I just want to look at these notes. It says very clearly, and I understand your point, Counselor, and there's many times that things stop right at the town manager's office or a department head that says, hey, it's not going to go to council. However, here, the process was we have a traffic commission. It went to traffic commission. They had many conversations about it. But this is very clear in their notes, their minutes. It says, given this being a repeat matter, Chief Woodson spoke with Heather Blakely and suggested this be elevated to a DPW subcommittee. So that commission made a determination to say, hey, this has been ongoing since 2016. We really can't resolve it with this person. They don't like our recommendation. We recommend. So the council took the recommendation of those department heads to kick it up to subcommittee. The subcommittee says that, and this is the minutes from the meeting, they can then decide what they would like to do with this. And if they want to allow the town council to vote on allowing private business to have a public spot, they can. Their recommendation was, we don't think they should, but their recommendation was, let the council decide. Council Loudon?
I respectfully, my colleague, Mr. Dow, I know you haven't seen this before. I've seen it for 35 years. What happens is you have recommendations and disagreements on how you think this town should develop in its neighborhoods, in its airports, in its police department, management, air conditioning, whatever you want to debate. But the thing is, the council is supreme, not the department head, not the town manager. Council is. Read the charter. The charter states the process and procedure to accomplish something. When Heather comes in front of her with contracts, there's a process and a procedure. The manager has a role in all of this. Tonight, we had a negative recommendation from a parking commission recommended to DPW, which went 2-2. No recommendation, which goes to the Supreme Board. Council, final say, done deal. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
Wait a minute.
we've already voted on this issue, so.
It's good to discuss, so I understand the future.
I'm just going to allow one more question, and then we'll move on.
Okay, so, through you, Mr. Chair. So the town council educated as a police department, as a traffic study, as a DPW, that we don't have no education about that. That's why we have police department. That's why we have a study traffic. That's why we have DPW. So the town council, I understand the last word for us, after it being reviewed, recommended, and then we can review and see if it's safe for the public to say yes or no. We have no education about traffic study. We have no education about police department. We have no education about DPW. Okay, I understand the public vote for us to represent them, but to make them safe. Now, I agree regarding business, you need to help. But the way it was done, improperly. Period. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move forward.
I just want to clarify what will happen next.
You be a yes
My
man, not
department
me.
will write up the actual permit. Since you voted on it, I will write it up with measurements from how far to say this is a designated handicap space, and the town manager and Maddie Douse will sign the parking permit because it actually is like an amendment to the parking rules and regulations.
Thank you.
Douse,
All right, moving on.
town clerk.
I thought I had crossed it off, but I guess we'll go moving. Discuss paving alternatives for the Main Street project. Council Marquetti, I'm not sure what.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
means.
There was no vote taken on this. It's for discussion only.
What is the discussion? Can you elaborate on your subcommittee meeting on why it come to full
The
council for
discussion, I
discussion?
believe, was about the area in front of Cumbies and the problem that you may have with the paving of that area because of what happened with the paving, and it had that washboard, and you want to avoid that. So through you, Mr. Chairman, I believe that the DPW director wants some alternative solutions to that paving problem, which may be including cement or other more expensive. It may cost us more money, I guess. Thank you.
So I get, again, because I don't have minutes to the DPW meeting for that, so just for clarification purposes, you brought this to the subcommittee, DPW director?
This is correct.
Okay, thank you. Do you need presenter status?
No, I think I'm just going to speak through the alternatives. I just didn't have printed copies with me. I believe everybody was
Yes,
emailed the information today, so I just wanted to have it electronically with me. But I'll give a brief overview of what was discussed at subcommittee and what happened since then, because this project, we're continually working on it and continually getting feedback, so even today. So
Okay.
Just to be brief, obviously, we're all concerned about getting the best products for Main Street and final paving as we can, and I've heard lots of complaints and lots of issues, and, you know, I'm hearing it all from multiple different places, and we've asked people to be patient and everything else, but we have found some conditions underneath the ground that weren't what we expected. There's a lot more concrete there. We have cut that concrete and removed it and taken it out in various locations. And there's a lot of concerns that if we, depending on what we do for final treatment, how that concrete is going to affect the final road conditions of the project. So what we have provided to you is a memo with multiple different options, and as I described it in subcommittee, there was one option that I called the Cadillac option. I'm not, you know, the most expensive option would be to remove all of from the whole project area, remove all of the concrete underneath what the current pavement is. So you would be taking down the pavement and the concrete completely out, putting in a new gravel subbase, and then putting new pavement on top of that whole area. So that's your Cadillac option. And as I presented in subcommittee, depending on prices, and we still will have to negotiate a change order, it could be up to $2 million and major disruption to the roadway. I'm not going to be, it's that kind of project when you're ripping up the whole street and putting gravel down is going to be even more disruptive than what we're doing right now. At subcommittee, I also presented an option that we do a thicker mill and overlay, because right now most of the project's only getting a 2-inch mill and overlay. The thicker mill and overlay would provide us with additional pavement thickness, which actually provides you with additional stability. We'd leave the concrete in place where it exists. We would beef up where we had removed the concrete, because where the trench is, obviously we don't have concrete anymore. We would make the pavement thicker in those locations to give more stability and make it more like a concrete subbase by having a denser material there, which is an additional cost, and then we'd put additional pavement down. Or there is just the alternative that is included in the bid, which that came in, and I don't have the numbers right up in front of me, but more like $500,000 in that type of range. Additional dollars. Or you can do what we have in the original bid documents, which is permanent paving in the trench, which is a pavement patch. They'll come back, cut the patch back, remove some, put some gravel in, put the pavement down, and a 4-inch mill and overlay in one section and 2 inches in all the others. The biggest concern, and it's not, I share this concern with multiple people that are in the industry, is because of so many areas that we do have the concrete, and not just us, National Grid's cut through that concrete and there's no concrete left. There's multiple cross trenches, especially in the area, I'm going to say, below, basically from Goddard Street to Elm Street. I'm going to call that Swiss cheese in there because there's so many cross trenches and everything else. That area is likely to show reflection cracking, very much like we see the reflection cracking that was brought up on Dresser Street. The trenches are going to settle different. If you don't have enough pavement thickness in there, you're going to see settlement and you're going to see cracking. Premature cracking leads to premature failure. So the concept was, okay, maybe we limit, this came up after our subcommittee meeting, maybe we limit the area that we remove the concrete from that Goddard Street, just north of Goddard Street coming down Main Street, to just south of Elm Street, or east of Elm Street. That would get us the majority of the cross-trench area, the majority of the area that's really been disturbed, and right in our core downtown area. So I had a meeting today on the phone with the engineer and the contractor, kind of floating this concept and what we can do. What is the best approach that we can recommend? The best approach that we can recommend, and they've actually provided me with additional cost, and what they recommended after having conversations with us was just what we just spoke of. Let's remove the concrete in that area. Let's bring in gravel, 8 to 12 inches, depending on how thick the concrete is, and put new subbase down, new 6 inches of gravel. 3.5 in the bottom, 2.5 in the bottom, 1.25 inches, 1.25 inches. That's new pavement design. That's exactly how you put it down. That would give us a really good base in that area, perfect pavement, just like a new road. In the other areas, we'll do our full depth pavement repair in the upper area as we were expecting, with thickening up of the trench area pavement to more match the concrete that's existing in there so that you're marrying the depth of the concrete, and then do a 3-inch mill and overlay that will allow you to match the 1 1/4 and the 1 1/4 that you're putting back, 3 to 3.5 inch. You're getting a thicker overlay thickness of new pavement, you're putting 3.5 back, and you're basically assuring that those, you don't have as many cross trenches that you're going to have to deal with. You're going to get a really good product in the end. It is more. The price tag for that is sitting right about $800,000 to do that, $300,000 to do what we originally proposed. It's not the $1 million to $2 million price tag. I know it's expensive. It still needs to be negotiated final with them. What I'm looking for you, for discussion purposes, is to say, okay, we get it. We want to do the best, we want to have a cost-effective but yet the best solution for Main Street. Many of these prices are in the contract. We already have milling. We already have the asphalt. We already know what those bid prices are. So we have a pretty good sense of where the range is. We do have the ability to go back and negotiate because we're going to increase those quantities. So that was one of the items that I really wanted to bring to the forum. It's not the only one. I'm willing to stop right now and take discussion and have discussion on this. I don't know how much you've gotten into reading the memo. It gets kind of technical, I know. But I did want to provide you with the basis of, we appreciate that this is Main Street and we want to do a treatment that's going to last longer than 10 years. A mill and overlay, I said it in subcommittee, it's only going to last you 10 years. It's a 10-year pavement. Doing this full depth reconstruction, you're looking at 20 years.
Council Control.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just as a point of conversation, at DPW, this was a great conversation, I felt, and you did give some great examples. We asked you to go out and talk to the contractor. You did. I'm certainly in favor. If we're going to do this, let's do it right. If the cost estimate's going to come back $800,000 more, let's do it right. We've invested so much money now, and I know Citizen Member Lazo during the DPW subcommittee, there was a concern coming down the hill, the chatter, the rolling of the pavement, and this sounds like you've addressed that.
Right. One of the things we did speak to the contractor about today, and they are recommending, is that we put a polymer in that the state is using to stiffen pavement in that situation. It is an upgrade of about $10 a ton, but that's actually very small dollars when we look at the tonnage that we're looking at. That might be $60,000 for us to do, but it provides that additional stiffening in the asphalt.
I know if you're looking for support, I know this has my support. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Council Ryan.
Great synopsis of everything. I appreciate that. I'm going to trust the experts. If they're saying that this extra $500,000 is going to mean a better, more well-constructed road, then why not do it? Let's do it. Let's do it right. Let's be done. Let's not worry about it. Let's not come back in 10 years and have to do it over again if we can avoid that now. For a far cheaper price to deal with it now than to go back later and probably have to redo it again. So that's it, Mr. Chair.
Council Lazo.
No hit on any previous DPW director or even the present, but when you live in Southbridge and that hill never had a ripple in it till they put the lights in. When they put the lights in, the 18-wheelers come down, the red light turns red, what do? They hit the brakes. And when you have a load of gravel on a 10-wheeler, it pushes it and rolls it on those real hot days like today. So with that in mind, we would like to do the best we can do. And yes, you are the expert from what they're saying, but if that road goes to hell in 5 years, it's on you. One other question. And this one here, another one, I drive the streets all the time. I gotta go have my front end done, but that's okay. I'm happy the streets are being done. Coming out of Central Street, has always been a contentious point for an 18-wheeler to take a right. They usually drive over the sidewalk and crush it. They've hit the signs, everything. What they did now is they narrowed it down even more, which eliminates that unforeseen right lane. Don't have a problem with that. But then as I'm coming out of that and I'm going to take a right turn with a van, you better be paying attention to your turn. Now I'm thinking about taking my dump truck with a trailer around that corner. I mean, is there going to be no turn for big trucks?
We're going to have to do some education of directing them down Mechanic Street and around the Rotary as the preferred truck route. The elimination of the two-lane was exactly what they were trying to prevent there. In addition, to get the handicap crosswalk in the way that they needed to expand that sidewalk to miss some of those things. I know it's extremely, I would like to speak on some of the curb issues because I know that I've had other comments regarding the contentious curb, but I wanted to kind of.
Okay.
I think narrowing Main Street in certain areas, we're going to see how it works, but there are some things that are going on that, you know, I'm sure there was thought behind it. I'm sure it was in a design stage, but that was just one of them that, you know, the library, a lot of people asking questions about the library, losing the parking spaces, which in the back of my mind was about a month ago when the experts were telling me to put a charging station in those parking spaces. And I'm like, did the left hand know what the right hand was doing? I'm like, I don't have a problem with a lot of what's going on. I'm just like trying to get up to speed with it. So when someone comes up to you and starts talking to you about why the hell are they doing that, I can explain it. And if there's going to be signage to not have 18-wheelers taking that street, then you just solved my problem. Because that was the big question. Thank you.
So,
I can
first, let's answer his question because it's fresh in everybody's mind so that we can have that. Then I want to go back to your other topic so we can figure out what the process is going to be for that and when we could have a topic. And then Council Steves will have a question.
I'll do a quick little summary on the curbing and all the curbing issues. So yes, we did take parking away in front of the library and in front of the post office. I also provided you in the packet today that road safety audit that was done back in 2016, I believe. And that was done in contingent with both the TIP project and knowing that we wanted to do something on Main Street. We have high crash ratings on Main Street. I believe you could see some of the highlighted areas and some of the different people that were involved. On Main Street is considered a very high crash area. So what we did in doing that is that crosswalk, because people cross and then people slam into them, we're trying to prevent that. We're trying to make it easier to see the person in the crosswalk. There was recommendations to make that crosswalk not as wide and recommendations to take away that parking because what was happening was when there was nobody parked there, which was actually very often, what you would have is the traffic would be backed up in Main Street right down through the crosswalk, but people would see that they could take the right turn onto Central Street and they would whiz down those parking spaces and cause accidents. There was multiple accidents, there's multiple times that people were hit in the crosswalk, bikes were hit, different things were hit. I know personally of a story of a bus that was pulled up and somebody tried to pass the bus and almost hit kids getting off the bus. So it's not that I wanted to take the parking spots away. It was a recommendation because of what was happening in the traffic situations, and that was what the data showed from the safety. And so when they looked at that, they were like, this is causing more problems than it's helping. And if you do this, you're going to channelize your traffic more so that they won't fan out until they get closer to the light and into the 3 lanes there. That was the idea. So you're safer to cross cross at that location. In talking to people about this just recently, like I keep on hearing these stories of people that walk in this area all the time. They go, oh, I don't use that crosswalk because it's so dangerous. So you don't want a crosswalk where people won't use it. You want people to be able to use their crosswalks and do this different areas. In addition, at crosswalks, you shouldn't have parking within 20 feet. That's a guidance from Mass DOT and guidance for traffic design. And you shouldn't have any parking within 20 feet of a turn either because of the same reason. you can't see when you're doing those turns. So we're trying to make the road safer. That is really a high crash road when you look at it with the data, at least that we had for the road safety audit.
Thank you. Council Steves?
Just to clarify, so, yeah, I was just looking through the memo you sent out this afternoon. And I just want to clarify that for the public's sake, that you're talking about alternative 3, right? As being your
Correct.
preferred alternative, okay.
We're talking about the one that we recommended.
Right, okay. Just for the clarification for people who are watching, what she means is that to reconstruct a portion of Main Street from just west of Hamilton Street to just east of Elm Street, and then doing the mill and overlay for the rest of the project, but completely
Correct.
reconstructing that section, which I don't have a problem with. I think that's a good idea. The question I have is there money already in the project budget to do this, or will it require funds from Chapter 90 or someplace else?
It will require funds for Chapter 90. Chapter 90 is our backup funding source anyways for this project. We're already using Chapter 90 funds, but this will require Chapter 90 funds or another funding source from the town. You know, we could look at our bond, but I know that would require us to do bond payments. So we have to look to see if we could use Chapter 90 funds.
How would that affect the other road projects that we've already approved and that we are hoping to get done in the next 2 years or so?
Well, I have provided budgets of where we had for funds. So we're not in construction on our bridges yet. We're hoping to be starting one, but the other one is delayed for the next couple of years. So at this time, I think we have the money available to us because it's only been budgeted internally by us. But we will have to look at where we would fund those projects in the future. We do have the bond money. We could use that at that point if we put it into our budget on how we're going to pay it back. But right now, it's not in the next year's budget on if we borrowed an extra $500,000. So.
Well, that's why I was asking, because I mean, if we're already spending $500,000 on the Indus contract, and you're going to be bringing us a contract coming forward for more complete paving on some of the roads, whatever that's going to cost. We don't even know that yet. And we're adding $250,000 to $500,000 to this project.
Well, we already included South Street in the numbers, so South Street already had a placeholder. So.
Right.
But is it, to the town manager, is that something you can work with Karen and DPW to come up with some alternative financing on? Well, I do know that we did transfer money from free cash to stabilization in this last budget.
Sure.
For purposes like this.
That's
So
true.
that could be an avenue. We have a pretty healthy stabilization fund. I don't know, I forget how much we added there, maybe 200,000 this year.
400 and something.
400,000. So you'll work with your team to come up with the best alternative on
Yes,
that?
and we can come back clearly and let the council know the direction we take. If you recall, when we talked about the pavement management, I want to say that the council appropriated significantly more than was needed for the first year or so. So there may be an opportunity for a real short-term borrowing or note, but we'll look at all those options and come back with a recommendation.
Okay. Council Adam? Okay. Did you? There you go. Council Adam, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know you guys are looking into it, but I just didn't know when the Green Meadows would be paying up for their, we talked about utilizing some for infrastructure projects. I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but I just thought about that.
So if you recall, we were late in adopting the local option tax. That was something that I discovered. So there's 3% that will come in on a quarterly basis, and I want to say we were first eligible to collect from Green Meadows as of April 30th, so we will start seeing on a quarterly basis monies coming in from that, and that was what we were going to direct towards our pavement management going forward. They recently made a payment that was part of the contract once they first opened their doors, so we've received that. There will be some money that comes to us at some point, and I believe it's annually, not quarterly. I'll have to go back off the top of my head, but there is some impact fee money that will come in that we did not discuss earlier. So we could look at how we could best utilize that. And impact fees are something that the state may be revisiting. There was some discussion whether or not that would be handed over to the Cannabis Control Commission to do some management of that because it was concerned that communities weren't using impact fees to really deal with impacts. But if we want to look at it and frame it that one of the impacts, we could use it for certain health-related things, people who have substance abuse, but with 4 retail establishments coming into the community as well as some of these other host community agreements for cultivation and other purposes, there's a wear and tear on our roads. So I think we could easily make an argument that some of the impact fees that we would be receiving once all these organizations are up and running should go back to the maintenance of some of the roads for the increased retail traffic. So that's something else we could consider.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Councilor Dell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I think, Heather, this is the best thing you did regarding directing, if you're really going to do that, the trucks not going through Center Street, because it's, when the car park both way, big trucks.
It's too narrow anyways.
Yeah, it's just difficult to run 2 lines there. I think that's a great idea. Are you going to put a bench on where you took the parking for people, park on Center Street?
It's going to be just...
And walk there and sit down on beautiful Main Street in the future?
Yeah, currently it's just to be loam seated, but we can look at landscaping. It can be used as snow storage is what I'm looking forward to.
Wow.
There will be additional space to put some of that snow, and not on a sidewalk and not anything, but we'll look to do whatever we can in the future to beautify the area.
One more question. Did you look at it in the future when you do shared road, the bicycle, it's enough that road to put another little trail for the bicycle there?
So shared streets and shared bicycle roads, I believe this will be chevron to have bikes in the regular travel lane. Our roads are very difficult, most of them, to put a regular bike lane on. I know we need to consider it in different areas, and we will probably be doing a lot with with details of bike lane and stuff like that. If we go to a shared streets and complete streets model, which we have been looking into internally with planning and DPW, those type of requirements would come into place.
You don't think it's just question, a good idea to, I know now it's halfway done, but you don't think it's a good idea to look at it quick before we finish?
We can't put a separate bike lane. We don't have enough width in our right-of-way to do that, but we do have, it would have to be combined with the travel lane. Because you need certain roadway widths and we just don't have it.
Thank you.
Without eliminating all parking, which I don't think we want to do.
Okay, thank you. Council Control?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I was going to bring this up under Council's forum. Hopefully we can get an update this evening. The water was shut off last week, as we know, to the Elm Center, as well as several other businesses who had to shut down for the day. And as we've talked about it, they all lost quite a bit of revenue. You spoke about a second shutdown. Can you give us an update, Heather?
Yep, I'm just trying to get to the email because I want to make sure I don't misspeak. I do like having my computer here to be able to look up things. So I did ask for a schedule for shutdowns. So I will, it's not just Elm Street that has to have shutdowns, just so you know. Tomorrow, June 8th, the shutdown and the connection, well, the connections will be at Marcy Street on the north side on the High Main and Pine Street. So there'll be limited shutdowns in that area so that those 2 final connections can be made. So let me go backwards. So for this project, there are 2 mains that are on Main Street right now. We're going to a single main system. There was a smaller main, 6-inch, and a 12-inch main. We're going to one 12-inch main. In addition, up at the top at South Street, we actually have our high service pressure main that comes out and wraps around and goes up to Pine Street. It comes down as far as Marcy Street. With all those mains, we have to tie them back over to all their systems and make sure that the final connections are made. So that is what they're doing here. Same with all the other intersections. They all have to be tied into the side streets. Some of them have already been done, and some of them couldn't be done because the existing main had to be taken out of service. So that is Tuesday. That will not affect Elm Street area. That will only be isolated up to that area. Thursday, the South Street connection is being made on Thursday up in that area. So there'll be limited outages up there again. Tuesday, the 15th, the high-pressure main on South Street is going to be connected. Thursday, what's the wrong date? The 17th, I know he had a wrong date in here, so I want to make sure he has the right day. Wednesday, the 16th, I take it back, see, that's why I said I knew there was a wrong date. Wednesday, the 16th, not the 17th, they'll be doing Elm Street and Main Street at the same time, starting at 1 p.m. So they are going to move the shutdown into the afternoon, hopefully affecting less people and letting people work through the morning and then doing an afternoon shutdown. And they have agreed to work late until it's done and get it done.
Will there be if I can continue, Mr. Chairman? Will there be better notification?
They should be
This time?
starting notification now. That was their direction that we gave them. So they should have already been notified.
As of today, they have not.
Okay. Well, I will speak to them again, but I was told that they would notify people immediately.
Okay. Did anyone speak to any of the businesses in that area to see if one day is better than another for some?
I'm not managed, that's up to the contractor to kind of manage that part of the project, so.
Well, it's up to us I think it's up to us as a town to support
No,
our
I
local
understand.
businesses that are
But
losing.
they're
If I
fighting.
can continue, Heather?
Yep.
That are losing thousands of dollars, especially after I spoke before, after COVID. These businesses have already experienced a shutdown. Now they went through a 6-hour shutdown last week to find out that we have to shut down a second time because there were some issues. I agree. And now they have to shut down and they're going to have another loss of revenue. Not just the Elm Building, it affected the banks, it affected Subway. It affected a considerable amount of businesses in town that didn't have water. And when I was coming to the meeting that evening, they were still turning on the water at 6 o'clock at night, and you and I had that discussion in one area. So I just think we want to promote and be business friendly, and this is what you and I talked about last week. The town manager speaks of it. If we're controlling this project, I don't know, maybe it might behoove us to speak to the businesses and find out if one day is better than the other.
I know the
Thank
water
you.
department has been engaged in speaking to many of the businesses and trying to facilitate with this and the proper schedule.
Okay.
The one rule we have is we cannot do it on Fridays because there's a rule in water, you never start a big project that could go wrong on a Friday and then have the world blow up on you. You know, you don't do this type of connection on a Friday, so we wouldn't even consider it. But there is some flexibility. I think they tried to delay it as long as possible to be able to give them as much notification as they could. The last two tie-ins can't happen until that tie-in happens. So there are 2 additional tie-ins that would happen on Marcy Street and Everett Street, but they require the 6-inch main not to be in service anymore. And for that 6-inch main to not be in service anymore, the one on Main Street, which they're going to do concurrently, so they're going to have 2 crews working concurrently on one shutdown, which was originally scheduled to be 2 shutdowns. They've actually limited their shutdowns trying to do this. In addition, we're trying to work with the building owner to see if we can get temporary water at least into the Elm Center, because we understand there's so many businesses in there. It wouldn't be potable, but it could be used for flushing toilets, so they could still have public in there. It wouldn't be suitable for but we could at least have the businesses still up and running.
How long is that shutdown approximately, Heather, on the 16th? Do you know? From what starts at 1 o'clock, you said?
Yes.
Until
They get it finished.
4 hours, 6 hours?
It's probably going to be close to 8 o'clock at night. They're planning a full day after 1 o'clock.
Okay.
I mean, if everything goes right, it could be less. They're going in with a lot more information this time than what they had the first time, and they've already removed the obstacle that was in their way. So that should actually help them do it quicker, at least up here on Elm Street side. They don't, Main Street is a different story, but they have already done a test pit there, so they know what they're getting into.
Okay. I understand it's part of the project, if we can just tighten up the communication to the business.
I will definitely get on them tomorrow to make sure that the notifications have been done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to you. Heather, they can put them on the town website? what you just
We
said
can,
now?
we will put it out on the town
Make it the
website.
easy way,
We just-
everybody can,
It's so variable that it can change, something could happen tomorrow and a date could slide, but
I understand, but at least they get an idea,
Yep.
That's faster way, I think, for,
we can. But we have been doing personal notifications to everybody that we know is going to be involved.
thank you.
Any other, okay, so,
Back to the question.
back to the alternatives. Did you have any other alternatives, or was that it?
No, those are the alternatives.
All right,
There's-
so as far as timeline, when do you think you can go to DPW for recommendation?
Well, if we start,
Well, you can work it out with
Probably
the
need a
DPW chair, and just let us know if you need
Yep,
a
I probably need
special,
a-
work with the town manager, let him know, he can contact me, and then we can
if
figure out
you're
what we're
all in
gonna do.
agreement that we should go forward with item, this. what we-
Personally, no disrespect to the DPW subcommittee, but if you have a recommendation, just schedule a special town council meeting and get it done. We'll have a full discussion at special town council, but let's have a full conversation and just move it along.
We'll get the
If
change
that's okay
order
with the rest of the
prepared,
council.
and so that we know what we're doing going forward. with-
Yeah.
with
It's a
us.
project,
Right.
and we have to make a decision, and we can debate as long as we want to debate and have our negative or positive and get it done. Okay?
Okay.
So just let us know, let the town manager know. Okay? Thank you. Is that it?
As long as everybody's satisfied with the curbing and doesn't want to change it, I will tell you if we selected to change it back, it would be about $10,000, just because we have to pay for them to put it back. But I did tell the person that came to me and was very, very upset about the curbing change because of plowing issues and because of tight turning radiuses and all of these other, other concerns that are there, countered by the safety concerns. We have to make a decision. Is it parking and snow, or is it safety and pedestrians? So I did want to just make sure that everybody's aware. I brought it to you to make your decision. If you wanted to go back, we could put that in the change.
No, wasn't there a pedestrian struck on Main Street in the crosswalk down by the post office? In that general area?
Yes.
I mean, if that's a safety audit, me personally, I think you go by the safety audit and traffic control, but Council Lazo?
Hi. My wife, God rest her soul, experienced somebody pulling out of the library parking while she's turning into Foster, got T-boned, and my little girl in the car. It was terrible. But anyway, nobody got hurt. I think we should just go forward with it as it is. If we made a few mistakes somewhere that we have to correct later, then we'll correct them later. But right now, I'm going to go on the side of safety. The only big problem I had was at Central Street because it kind of pokes out. That's the only thing I had.
I understand. We have put the turning radius on there. It is, if you make that turn, you're going to be in the travel lane to make the turn right.
Right.
There really wasn't a very good solution. You're going to be there even if we left it where it was.
It's been
It
haunting-
doesn't get much better or much worse.
Those two streets have been haunting the town forever
Yep.
because they never lined them up with Elm and Central. It's been a problem. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, all right. So we'll have a plan, talk to the town manager, we'll get it on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 42, vote to terminate the Town of Southbridge local state of emergency COVID-19 enacted on March 20th, 2020, effective as of June 14th, 2021, to coincide with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts termination of the state of emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Council Adams?
Just asked the town manager earlier this evening, I know it's the 14th, but I know the state's the 15th when it terminates, the day of.
I thought it terminates, I thought it terminated on the 14th, effective January 15th. So if we want to put effective June 14th at 11:59 p.m., but it's just to coincide with the Massachusetts, but I believe Massachusetts ends on the 14th. Is that not correct? I just read a memo on this very quick.
I pulled it up this morning,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair. It does, I mean, even if it's the 14th, I just wanted to bring
Go ahead,
that
Mr.
up.
Town Manager.
12:01 a.m. on June 15th. So it should be minute after midnight.
Right. Minute after minute. So, yeah, so, all right, if you want to amend that
I'll just
friendly
make an
amendment to the 15th at 12:01 a.m.,
God
correct?
forbid some federal money comes our way
Huh?
and we screw it up.
What's that? Yeah. Well, I said to coincide with the Commonwealth management. Okay, so is there any discussion on this? I know I got an email from Copeland and Page late this afternoon that I could only read briefly, and I had put this on without knowing their recommendation, And their recommendation is if you did vote to have to make sure that, and we did this, so we're doing exactly what they're recommending.
Closing it up. Yes, sir.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yeah.
And Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0. Item 43, vote to amend the personnel rules and regulations to include Juneteenth as a legal holiday recognized by the state of Massachusetts.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Mr. Town Manager, do you just want to state why we're doing this?
So, last July, Governor Baker voted to make Juneteenth, which recognizes the official end of slavery, a state holiday. As you recall, I had several absences in my office in December of last year, right around that time frame. Staff said we normally produce a list of holidays when the town offices are closed. We added Juneteenth, and in the mix, we did not go to Gen Gov at that time. We probably should have done it in conjunction with publicizing that list to get out an amendment to the bylaws at that time. But according to the Secretary of State's office, this is an official state holiday, and the wording on their website says all state, county, and municipal offices shall be closed in observance of June 19th. Now, I've attended some virtual presentations surrounding June 19th, including the recent Massachusetts Municipal Managers Association meeting, and they did take an informal poll, and the vast majority of folks are going to celebrate it this year on the Friday. That is what we put on our list of observed days that we would probably close our offices. The interesting part is that we are not necessarily obligated to give all people that day off, and I know it was asked, I think, at one of the last subcommittee meetings. We will look at how we will deal with this with the unions. If we amend the bylaws tonight, that would cover the non-union personnel, and then we would have to either open up the respective contracts, which sounds like a lot of people are doing, or you could do a one-time non-precedential, in the sense you're not setting a precedent, create a floating holiday for some of those organizations. It's still something that I'm contemplating. I will be sitting down with one of the unions this year. The rest of the unions are up for discussion next year. But this, what is before you, just codifies Juneteenth as one of the lists of state holidays that we recognize here in Southbridge.
Any other discussion? Councilor Lazo?
So in other words, automatically, if there's a contract in place, that they'll get this date or they won't?
So it depends upon how your contracts are worded. In Southbridge, all of our contracts for our unions specifically list the dates. Some just say you get off whatever the state gets off. So here, it's not in their list, so they're going to have to open up their agreements and negotiate to get it added in.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Catrona?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Jovan?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
And Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Unanimous, all present. Item 44, I put this on the agenda, review, return in all meetings to in-person public participation or take any action there too. Earlier today, the town manager sent out an email with the guidance to Copeland and Page. I don't know if anybody had an opportunity to read it. The question becomes, and I'm sure the town manager can reflect this, I believe we should be returning back to council chambers for all our regular meetings and let me back up. Absent any action taken by the legislature to change the open meeting law by June 15th at 12:01 a.m., the open meeting law reverts back to previous versions. So therefore, they have not made any decisions on how to extend our ability as a council to meet remotely, or any public body to meet remotely entirely. We, as a council and a town, has not adopted remote participation by the public body, so therefore we have no policy to continue to do that. I believe the guidance, and again, it was a brief cursory review of it, stated that, say as a council, we want to allow this hybrid approach to allow public to participate. They can come here in chambers and participate, but if we want to allow for greater participation, people to participate by video, we can look at that as well. So I think for the purposes of this, my recommendation, I guess the council, well, really we don't have an option. The law reverts back. We don't have the opportunity to know what the state will put forward. So I believe as of June 15th at 12:01 p.m., we will go back to business as previously conducted, and that perhaps if new guidance comes out, again, the next council effective July 1st can take it out through general government to deduct how we go about remote participation and all that. So I guess there really is no action to take by the council because the state of emergency has been lifted, and we revert back to the previous open meeting law, and we don't have a policy in place to allow remote participation. So really, there's no action for us to take. We just go back to business as we previously conducted. Does that sound correct? Mm-hmm. Mr. Town Manager, am I correct on most of that?
That is my understanding, Mr. Chairman, that we can no longer meet in our entirety in a virtual format as we've been doing. So we would go back and we may have the opportunity to do the hybrid as you've indicated. I would recommend that we have a discussion how we want to do that going forward. If you want to have the public participate remotely, as you indicated, there may be times that if someone's on the agenda, you want them here, but anybody else, Citizens Forum, could participate in either venue, either remote. But that, I think, would be a subcommittee discussion, how you want to do it going forward.
Right. Okay. So we're all on the same understanding? Councilor Steves?
Yeah, just one quick question. For the memo that you sent to us, have you sent it to the chairman of the various other boards and committees? Because obviously this will affect them. A lot of them are still meeting entirely remotely.
We can send that out. There's, I'm about to send out something about trying to do an annual report this year, so I will include that when we send our email out to just remind them. So, very good.
Okay, so everybody over here. I would just ask, I think we will leave this set up until July 1 because it's set up and we had assigned seating, so rather than disrupt the cart for the last meeting on June 29th, we'll keep this seated, and when the new council is seated and we draw our numbers, then we'll reestablish the correct places on the dais. Okay, Councilor Dow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I think it's a great idea, but are we going to do something for the public if they come here to meet? Or ours, carry our fan and some other councils steal it their way? It's something we're going to be done in here, or we're going to be like a, like a homeless, go to different places because one day hot, one day cold. Is that going to be something, fix the issue in here in the town, Chairman?
So the only meetings that would be conducted in here would be the regular the regular school committee meeting and the town council meeting. All other meetings would be held in whatever rooms that they were previously held in that have air conditioning or the right accommodations. So,
as you see today, was a lady with a baby there. There was,
So,
thank you.
all right, so we'll remove that to, once we get further guidance, we know where the direction of the state is going. All right, before we start Councilors Forum, Mr. Town Manager, earlier this evening I announced that there was an emergency that the police chief had. Serious incident that occurred in Southbridge, and I believe you have a message from the chief for the public and the council.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Earlier, a few minutes ago, Chief Woodson had sent me an update that he had asked me to share with the town council. First of all, he wanted to apologize for not being here this evening, but he wanted everyone to know that at approximately 6:45 this evening, they received communications through E911 of a shooting that occurred on Mechanic Street, just a short distance from the police department. The chief was en route to this building, and he responded with other officers to the scene. At that time, they located a male victim who was approximately 40-plus years of age on the sidewalk, bleeding profusely from what appeared to be a gunshot wound to the abdomen area. It took a while to treat the victim. There was also a large crowd at the scene. He said Southbridge Fire Department arrived on scene within minutes and transported the victim to UMass, where the victim is in stable condition. Massachusetts State Police is also contacted for assistance with the investigation for ballistics, etc. The chief did want to stress that they do know some of the individuals involved and that this was not a random act, and they do not believe that there is any threat to the citizens or the public here in Southbridge. So the officers are safe, the individual is in stable condition, and they will pursue their investigation.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Council's Forum. Council Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to thank Councilor Adams for putting on the Memorial Day festivities observance. It was very well attended. It was well organized, and I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
I like the fact that you had the high school band there playing. That was a nice added touch. It was nice to see the state reps there. I'd forgotten what they looked like. So thank you very much. It was really well attended. The other thing I wanted to speak on is the town manager's email about eliminating new business and what we can talk about at Council's Forum. I was hoping that we could get that on an agenda at some time, because it's a little, I'm just kind of curious about how that's going to work. Some residents come to subcommittee meetings and they do want to speak on an issue, and if there's no new business, then they can't speak on it. So I'm just thinking, well, maybe we can add Citizens Forum to our subcommittee meetings so residents can speak. And at Councilors Forum, I'm always trying to email the town manager first if there's a citizen's complaint. But other than that, if I have an issue in town, I'd like to know what's going to be allowed or what you think should be allowed. Because Councilors Forum has been on the town charter for many, many years, and we've always talked about issues that are of concern to us in the town. And finally, tomorrow is the vote, and I hope everybody gets out and votes tomorrow. I know there's not very many contested races, but there is a ballot question, and I think it's important for the residents to let us know how they feel on the ballot question. Everybody knows how I feel about it, so now it's the residents' turn. Thank you.
Council Steves.
I don't have anything tonight.
Thank you. Council Catrona.
Nothing this evening.
Council Dow.
No second reading. Thank you.
Council Lazo.
Yes, quick, the rumblings at the middle high school is, and I heard it again tonight from the union president Tallis, that we're going to lose approximately 50% of the staff on the middle school side, and the high school side is going to take another hit. Again, I know we're the council, we oversee the money type thing, but we went through a little skirmish over the line item budget, and I think Councilor Adams asked the most valuable question that night. Will it make a difference if you had a line item budget? And nobody said anything, because I thought a line item budget gives you the knowledge of where the money is going. Are they wasting it? Are they put it in the proper places? Are we utilizing it for our children? And that dictates whether we cut the bottom line, because we cannot do line item cuts. With this other information coming down the chute, I'm very concerned when we talk about recreation and other issues. We're moving forward on a lot of things in town. I hope to God we're moving forward up there. If I see another mass exodus this coming year, because the teachers will wait to the last minute to put the papers in that they're going somewhere else. We've experienced this before, but if this is a big hit, again, we need to look at it and look at it straight in the eye, and can't keep saying everything's going in the right direction when our employees are leaving in mass droves. Just keep that in the back of our minds, councilors, because schools are the most important thing to the families, the kids. On a different note, elections tomorrow. I'm not a social media guy, but there's a lot of social media arguments over the fire station. Whether you are a no vote or whether you are a yes vote, please go and vote. Send a message loud and clear to this council what your feelings are and what you think we should do. That's what happens in a democracy. And if you see fit that this council or the councils that are on the ballot are viable, the only thing I could say is I'm voting for all three councilors that are on the ballot because this council has been moving mountains in the last 3 years, and I think we got to continue to do that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I'll keep my comments brief. I also want to jump on the comments that were made by Ms. Tallis tonight. I am greatly concerned. I am greatly concerned we are going to lose our best and our brightest to other communities who give them a better deal and actually give them a fair shake. You know, if half the things the teachers union is saying is true, I am not surprised that our staff is leaving. How dare we, after the year they have put in, giving and giving and giving, and even the members of this council have said they showed up when many other communities didn't have to show up. They were there on the ground. And we're talking about, it's been brought up talking about cutting sick time, talking about cutting bereavement. That's disgusting and deplorable. And if our district is actively doing that, shame on them. Because our teachers don't deserve that after the year they have put in. That's all I have to say to that. Thank you.
Councilor Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, I'll throw that out there. I wholeheartedly agree with previous two councilors and that conversation. That concerns me as well. I think it should concern everybody. I would ask that whoever the new EHS chair is to have a communication with the receiver and have a conversation about this whole issue during the summertime, find out what's really going on. And so we'll see how that goes. I will say I want to wish the United States Army a happy birthday on June 14th. They'll be 246 years old. Flag Day is also on the same day. That's a period of time when most people put red, white, and blue out by their house and stuff like that to celebrate the official engagement of our ensign and our national ensign. And then on June 20th, all you fathers out there, happy Father's Day. That's all I got.
Thank you. Councilor Daniel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All I have to say is that I agree that the job of the council is to manage, but sometimes we come close to micromanaging, and I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing all the time. And I just ask the council to be aware of that in the future. Thank you. The next regularly scheduled meeting is Monday, June 28th, 2021.
Thank you. Item 47, vote to enter executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21, Subsection 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property relative to the town-owned property at 6 La Rochelle Way, which, if discussed in open meeting, the chairman declares may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. Mr. Chair, so moves. Is there a motion?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Chairman, I would just indicate that whether you're going to return.
Yeah, I'm going to announce that afterwards. Okay. Thanks. Roll call.
Councilor Adams?
Yes.
Councilor Catrona?
Yes.
Councilor Daniel?
Yes.
Councilor Dow?
Yes.
Councilor Jovan?
Yes.
Councilor Lazo?
Yes.
Councilor Marquetti? Yes. Councilor Ryan?
Yes.
And Councilor Steves?
Yes.
Town council will adjourn from executive session and not return to open session. So thank you. Have a good evening.